We are Squawking Dead, a podcast pulverizing programs beyond the Walking Dead universe. Sometimes we give you news, sometimes we make you laugh, most times we go deep. I'm your host, David Cameo, and I'm joined by...
Unmuting herself, CosmoMom09.
And as some of you can see in the chat, Bridget's having some technical difficulties, but she will be on shortly, as well as perhaps Sharon D, a.k.a. Blazy Gardner. And Bridget you can find, so she doesn't have to do it later, on youtube.com/@symbol PUNKYBRUISETER. I suggest, like I said in the last episode at the end, we should have done it in the beginning, that you should subscribe to her channel ASAP. Don't do it right now. You're here with us right now. But, well, actually, maybe you can open another tab or something like that, or put us in a picture-in-picture while you do that. I'll wait. And by the way, I don't know if it's doing this for you now on YouTube, but let me know when it does. But whenever you say the word subscribe, I noticed that the subscribe button is lit up. So I highly encourage you to subscribe to our channel if you haven't already. It tends to be the case that most people who jump on to watch us, the ratio is usually 75 to 25 of people who don't subscribe versus subscribe. So if you happen to be watching us, do yourself a favor, subscribe to our YouTube channel immediately. And if you don't like what we're doing, you can unsubscribe. But in the meantime, subscribe. And if you happen to really like what we're doing, perhaps enable all notifications so that you'll get our content. Because if you don't enable all notifications, you basically won't at all. That's how this works. And there is a thing in the top corner of the screen. Punky Bruce's device is not accessible. Ensure using Chrome and Edge and ask browser for browser restart. Well,
Ask your browser for a restart?
Yeah, something to that effect. Let's read the chat in the meantime. I see a bunch of chats about, hey, how you doing? About to throw my computer through a window, Bridget says, but otherwise good. How are you doing? Sharon D and Rising Against says Tess. Technical difficulties is how you know it's us, says Sharon D. Tess says, gave up on computers today using the phone, though the best part of my night. Good call, Tess, says Bridget.
Ooh, there we go.
Dead Computers
Bridget,
Club.
phone.
Oh, yeah, you can use your phone. That's true. That's
Use your
true.
phone.
Tess says, don't throw the computer. It'll come back. And then when you replace it, use it at the rage room. Right. It's kind of like Office Space, basically.
Yes.
I'm going to punch it, Bridget says. I'm going to punch it.
Oh,
So
good.
we're here now, and we're here to discuss The Walking Dead Dead City's 7th, penultimate episode of Season 2, titled Novi Početak. That's right. I said it right.
Okay.
Which means new day, new beginning, which was repeated a couple times in this episode. And look at that. Look at that. Look at this.
There she is.
I'm gonna
There she
hit.
is. No punching necessary.
I'm going to make mincemeat of...
Just a threat. It was just a threat of punching, and your computer's like, okay, we got it.
So you guys got the error on your side. All I did was refresh the window for the 80th time tonight.
Oh my gosh.
Like you usually do, by the way.
And it worked all of a sudden. Like, oh, thank you so much.
And like the message said, just refresh the browser, Bridget. I don't know why you're not refreshing the browser.
It's gaslighting me.
Yeah.
Like, it's like
just refresh
it's
the
like
browser.
if you just done that the first time, it
Just-
wouldn't have been a problem.
Yeah,
Just
God.
refresh it.
Sounds like the
That's all.
smarmy technician, which is me. It's me.
Yeah.
The problem is me, and I don't mind really. I don't mind. I like getting Bridget a little flustered every now and again. Not like frustrated to all hell. Not rage room level. So
I want to go to a rage room so bad.
I didn't
They're,
know.
bad.
they're amazing.
It's like an escape room, except you commit violent acts.
It's just I have it's like I have a high level of like always like right here, you know what I mean? Because I like manage people.
Do you mean you have a
And so
low
I'm like-
level? Do you mean you have a
No.
low level, a low threshold for tolerance for?
Oh yeah,
patience?
no, I mean like I have like a high level of like constant stress.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's like the Walking Dead universe, only rage.
Yeah. Basically, yeah.
Well, I'm glad we're all here almost, because Sharon D may hop on later. I hope
Dude,
she
we've got
does.
bad storms constantly constantly.
It's not helping things. Well, that's on top of.
I could disappear tonight. You have no idea. So if that happens, I'm just gonna let you know now.
Well, she already has a
Start
personal
playing
thing too.
again.
So, I mean, so on top of that, if she happens to join us, it may start raining. So there you go. Yeah. In any case, yes, this episode. Is there any housekeeping? Well, yes, there is. If you happen to, first of all, you're here. I'm happy you're here. Look at all your lovely faces, mostly Tess. It's great. But if you happen to want to keep the party rolling, we, Bridget and I, at the very least, will be on the MCU's Bleeding Edge later on tonight at 9:35 p.m. on the eastern coast of the United States. That's youtube.com/at the MCU's Bleeding Edge. Just search for it. You'll find it. And yeah, you'll see we're going to be going live with them to talk about this episode again. The Gobbler of Food says, seeing a lot of squawking, not a lot of dead. Well, that's a relief.
Oh.
I will. First of all, I love that name. The Gobbler of Food. Just straight and to the point.
I like
get
it.
It's half the reason why I like TikTok. Anyway, food talk. But yes, so we'll be on the MC's Bleeding Edge at 9:35 p.m. Bridget and I, and so I highly encourage you to show up for that because I will say up top, I really enjoyed this episode very much. Right, Rachel, how much you love me saying it very much. I very much like this episode. Just taking notes from last week.
Much. What was it?
I very much like this episode.
No, that makes sense. What you said did not make sense before.
That's okay. But as per our normal rules about this episode, Novi dan Novi, Početak, which means new day, new beginning. Rachel, how does the title of this episode relate to this episode? I don't know.
Very good question. It did not.
I don't know. You're not trying hard enough, Rachel.
This all took place at night. Pretty sure it was like the same day. There was no new beginning. Unless you're
you're thinking literally.
One thing. Of course I am. Who
Yeah,
are
obviously.
you talking to?
That's what she does.
Who are you?
This is her whole thing.
Because I was confused for a little while, like, is it you watching the episode? All this happened for me during the day.
No.
There was no new beginning for me.
No. The whole episode was one day. There was no new anything.
Stop it, David.
Shh.
Well, what else? Like metaphor. Well, you went into the metaphorical last week, and I was thinking like sometimes. Not today.
No, not today. I'm just gonna be honest. This was not my favorite episode.
Compared to the last two, how does
Not
it
at
rank?
all.
Is it like out of the three that we just watched recently?
This one annoyed me.
Okay, hold that thought, Bridget.
Okay.
I know
Yes.
we don't do first impressions, but just a quick shot on how you felt about this episode.
I'm not sure. I'm not sure.
Okay.
Right.
Look at this. With like
Okay.
we're like the three
Okay.
sitting monkeys. Like the one sees no evil, one hears no evil, one speaks no evil.
I do.
We're all speaking. So.
There was a new beginning. I'll give you that. There was.
Okay,
There
going back to the
was.
premise of the.
There was. Because I mean teenagers, am I right? But like it was like Herschel's brain was an etch-a-sketch. Like, and someone just shook him, and all of a sudden he forgot everything he was mad about.
Oh,
and he's
we'll
like,
get into
"Hey, Mom."
that.
Hey mom, so much better that you're here now. Oh wait, was it just faking? But anyway, it may have just been faking. But
Oh, I love Rachel. Look at
It
Rachel
seemed-
go. I'm like, well, it's
it
usually my
seemed
deal.
like it seemed like for a moment when you're watching the scene that it was like maybe we're gonna get a new beginning with the two of them. You are just
Out
in a
of
very different
all
way.
the new beginnings that occurred in this
Just in
episode.
a very, very different way.
I had some very different thoughts going through my head in that scene. I thought, I mean, it's not great how it ended, but I thought it was going to be even worse. So,
I mean, all I'll say is finally
We haven't seen the next episode. I'll say that.
I'm
That's all I'll say.
vindicated in my statement of, you know what I always say, Dave?
What
no
do you
one's
always
gone
say?
until they're gone. I'm a big believer in that.
I hesitated. I will tell, just to capitulate to what you're saying. When you guys made fun of me about Narvaez, and I mean, she did make it up to Bruegel. It was 2 episodes ago, and I was like, could
Somehow.
Narvaez be alive? Is the last we'll see of her? I wasn't wrong about
Maybe.
not seeing her again, but not
Saw her
alive.
again.
But I was going to say in my notes again, I had written, is the Dama really gone? Like, could she
I have something to say about it. I can wait until we get to like that actual.
But then because you made fun of me, I didn't bring it up. I was like, Narvaez? No, Dave. Sometimes dead is dead.
Sometimes
okay.
that is better. Like I said, big believer. And no one's gone till they're gone.
But dead is better.
But sometimes dead is better.
Sometimes.
Yeah.
Read the chat, Bridget. In the meantime.
Okay, so Tess says this episode had me yelling at the screen more than usual.
Yes, me
And
too. I love
Sharon
it.
D said, I just want to know if Rachel was hollering for Maggie to jump.
Oh,
It's horrible. I don't like that she's evil laughing either. Tess said, I'm yelling, are you going to do anything, Maggie? Move your butt. Dang it. Rachel was
Okay.
probably taunting Maggie, is also what Tess said about that. Sharon D said, same Rachel.
I can hear it now. Wait, hold on. I can hear it now. Maggie's looking over the staircase the first time, right? And she's like peering over, and you hear Rachel in the distance. Jump. Jump.
Just do it.
And Maggie's like, huh?
Do it.
No, it's like a very distant jump. Like there's not like a whisper.
Oh,
it's
it's like that time you went like this
jump.
and you like said something out loud. And
Yeah.
I was like, why are you all the way back here?
Jump.
There you go.
There you go.
Perfect.
Now it's creepier
Thanks for
when
the
it's a
tee up,
whisper.
Bridget.
Yeah, so Sharon D said that she was super annoyed by the episode and that
I
she's
can't
sorry
believe
that
this.
your name was spelled wrong. But I'm using speech to
Speech to
text.
text, yeah.
And then Tess said they definitely pulled a mind twist on this one.
Mm-hmm.
Sharon D said it's a good thing I'm not there. And that she never took me for a Matistan. But
She said it repeatedly.
I've said it so many times.
I'm never
And you
sure if
might
it's
be
mocking.
Are you saying
mockingly.
it facetiously? And I'll be like, I don't know. You'll never know.
I don't know.
But sometimes
You'll
that is
never know.
better.
I don't
Yeah,
know.
definitely. Tess said, was she
Steering melee up.
steering melee? I'm sorry, I read it as mile. Just
Me
could not
too.
break that
Capitalization
English,
will help in
the
this
English
instance.
language in my head. Just was she steering melee up to pull him into the fire if he didn't walk away? Ooh,
Okay, I think I want to jump
like
right
that.
in by saying, how do I word this? Well, I want to say it.
I
Just
want to jump right in by saying.
I know. I want to
nothing.
jump right in by saying nothing. I just want to stare awkwardly for a few minutes. I'm of the I don't think this is why is this so hard? Why are words hard? Why can't I talk? I don't think Mile knows Dama's still alive. He looked genuinely distraught. this
Oh yeah, I
episode.
never assumed that he
Yeah, I don't-
thought that she was.
Well, I think it's always a possibility, right? Like, but to me, it was pretty obvious. He was very distraught.
I would be shocked if he did know, like, because it would just go to show that there was some sort of larger plan that we were not privy to, and that he is a phenomenal actor.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
He is.
the actor is a
But-
phenomenal
yeah.
actor. But I mean, the Croat is a
Right.
phenomenal actor, which maybe he is. I don't know.
Whoa. I'm not going there. I'm
It's always a good
convinced.
sign when the head of the podcast is like, woof.
Yeah, well, sometimes I can surprise you too. I'm full of moves. But I'll say, I when you were talking about it, I was like, oh, wait, let's connect that to the last episode where he was basically falling over, looking at her not her burnt corpse, apparently. But then there's a little parallel between he and Maggie, because she kind of has a similar kind of almost passing out almost every. I know it's mostly out of exhaustion, but the other part of it is a whole other ball of wax too,
It's
which I'm raring to go to talk about this. I mean, a lot of the reason why I enjoyed this episode, just to kind of hit it, was that when I first watched it, again, first impressions always matter. I was like afraid. I had this. Maybe it's because I'm also a little afraid of heights, but I was also.
oh, me too.
It was like I was that it could be possible that she would. The show made me feel like she could, and that I could feel. I could connect with the character on that level of exhaustion and the
Could
desire.
jump? Are you saying could jump?
Yeah, the desire
Okay.
to jump, the desire to give up, the exhaustion. What am I doing this for? I've lost everything and lost everyone. Will I get him back? Some of the feelings that she did feel at, and this will be important later, during season 11 of The Walking Dead, when she was separated from Herschel and had to get him back from the Commonwealth, essentially, which will come
What's
up.
up with this kid? He's just like constantly being kidnapped.
Well, but it's like the Walking Dead universe, man. It's just what happens. If you want to get people to do something, you take away their kids.
He's just like walking out like, oh no, don't take me away from my mom. Don't do that. I would hate that if you took me away from my mom.
Well, this episode. Well, and we don't find that out till later, but there's something about like a show getting you to feel that. A show like this. Let's be honest about some things. Like a lot of the cool things about the spin-offs isn't really necessarily about the suspense nature of it necessarily. Or at least now at this stage in the Walking Dead universe. And there's also a general attitude of, is there no mystery left, or is everything been done before? You know, and that this show got me to feel this level of intensity. My heart started beating, and I'm like, well, hold on, what's happening here? That I didn't feel in like quite a long time. And to be able to get into Maggie's headspace of just seeing her constantly, first of all, hats off. That the level of exhaustion she was experiencing was just palpable. I connected with that on such a level. I've been there before too. Like just sleeping, standing up on the subway every now and again. I've worked very, very hard in my life and sometimes come home really, really late. And just, it was a common occurrence for me to just almost fall asleep holding onto a subway pole. You know, and then waking up hitting it because I fell over almost. So, well, what are you laughing about, Rachel?
Silas is doing a Pink Panther through the house, trying to be quiet.
Thanks, Alice. Do you want to go to the chat, I guess, Bridget? Because I don't know. It's fine.
Oh, sure. Tess said that the Dama was maybe setting up the Croat, and that everyone thinks she died in the fire, and then she pops out at the end, and Herschel is playing both sides. Charity says she did the same thing in last season with the methane, which is what these exhaustion scenes reminded me of.
Oh, okay.
She hauled off down into the catacombs and then was passing out because the methane was getting to her.
Oh, you know what? And then Negan passing out from the methane. Was it 2 episodes prior or 1 episode prior? No, 2 episodes prior.
Oh,
So there's a little symmetry
I
there
went to
too.
go see. Yeah.
We discover in this episode, this is a small detail, that there's a repeating theme that's happening. Apparently, Benjamin Pierce is also the same age as Victor, Joan, Christos. He was 10 years old, and Carl was 10 years old when the apocalypse happened.
So bye-bye, Benjamin Pierce. You're dead. Bye.
Why did you say that like a Midwestern mom? Bye, Benjamin Pierce.
I don't know. I just did.
You're dead.
You're dead.
You're dead now.
No,
Make your bed before you go.
I like Mr. Pierce.
I wouldn't say that. I would say it's kind of like like I was saying in the last episode, you know, here, and no further. Like, we've seen all these people, these reminders of Carl or whatever, kids in the apocalypse. What is all this for if not for them? And you're killing them to make this happen? Here and no further. And then you get a little bit more backstory from Pierce this episode, too. Like, on top of him telling us his age, he said something that was so cool, like another dimension to this. Do we bring it back or do we make it something completely new. And he says, and I really love this, it's like, I don't even remember what it was back then, but it's nice to remember. Meaning, from a historian's perspective, like history was written by the victors, but it's also in some ways, a rose-tinted glasses version of history and how, but it could be better. Like I can look back at this history and say, well, not all of this was bad. In fact, a lot of us, to make it to the point that we got here, a lot of good came through all this, even through the bad. And so if I can look back on history and see that there's some things we can cherry pick and take into the future, it doesn't have to be exactly the same, but like, it's like this idea that this is all I know in the written word. Why can't we have this now? Why can't this be a good thing that we have now? Like, I mean, maybe there's a little ignorance to that also, like to get to the good parts, we have to go through some bad parts, but it's worth fighting for, isn't it? I don't know. What was your take on that? I'm just curious. I thought it was really fascinating what he said.
I thought what he said was in reference to the fact that he was enjoying like that moment with Negan, because Negan is reminiscing all before then.
No, that was Lucy.
Okay. There's
Not
also
a
noise
ghost
happening.
cat.
There's noise happening behind me as well. He's reminiscing that entire time. And so it almost seemed like, yeah, I don't have the same amount of memories as you.
Like zero.
I'm not as old. But it is nice to remember and have someone remember with you. Is what it kind of made me think of.
Like, of what he could remember? I just want to just expand on that just a little bit so I can understand that better.
No, Benjamin Pierce isn't remembering anything.
Right.
He's sharing the memories with Negan. And that was what I thought he was referencing.
I see what you're saying. Okay. Like that I can live in the past through you?
Yeah, vicariously. Like it's nice to remember with someone. Like to have someone share a story.
That's cool.
It's the concept of, and this is so weird because Travis and I talked about it this week, I feel like, but nostalgia for something that you weren't alive for.
Yeah, I wrote that down in my notes. Anemonia, which is nostalgia for something that never was.
I knew there was a specific word for it. Okay, yeah.
We mentioned it on this podcast infrequently, but yeah.
Yeah. Travis and I were having a conversation about like old video games, and he's been watching like a YouTube channel that does. It's good. The show is called PC 88 Paradise. It's like old floppy disk games on PC 88, which is crazy. But that's what he's been watching, and he said like I didn't play these games, but I have a level of nostalgia for like this time period, even though like he didn't participate in any of that, like that he like remembers it fondly, even though he has no memory of it. And that's kind of what it made me think of when the two of them had this conversation, Benjamin Pierce and Negan, like remembering things fondly, or even just the act of remembering with someone, even if it's not a fond memory, just that intimacy that comes from that.
I can live in the world you've helped me construct in my own mind about your past and how it must have been like.
Yeah.
I love that.
You know,
Thank you for
that concept of like oratory storytelling, right? Like that's so big in like native cultures. That's like that was predominantly how they did storytelling, was oratory. Everything was oral, and then that was how you passed on these like folk tales.
Right, oral history.
So that's kind of what it makes me think of is that this concept of just passing it on through talking.
Right. And how and another feature of this is how that story will change through time because of the time.
Yeah.
So in
course,
effect, down the line, you really are creating a sense of anemonia, which is like, you know, it's sort of our history, but it's been mangled through time so it can make sense today. Which is not bad because we learn truth through stories. We learn this from the Torah too, how if you look at the Torah as a book of stories, you're reading it wrong, essentially. It's all densely filled with meaning, and basically like it's it is a book of stories, but the way we learn about the things we ought to do in life is through stories. And then as you look under the hood into the actual meaning and literal meanings of different words throughout the Old Testament, from that springs forth many, many different laws and rules and things that people fight about in the Talmud about, well, this word means that, but that word over there means that. So when you look at this word, you have to look at it differently, and then et cetera, et cetera. But like, we learn through story. It becomes easier to absorb. It's like if somebody gave you, we've said this similarly to different iterations. Like with Silo, had you learned the truth up front without going through this hero's journey, would you accepted it when you heard it? Had you gone through it, since you went through it, you can actually understand the truth at the end of the journey, right? Otherwise, you'd say, this is crazy. This is madness. I don't believe this at all. And so the written oral history is like that. The Old Testament's a lot like that. So you have to kind of read the story, understand it, absorb it. Then you can go back and examine. Kind of like what we're doing now on this podcast. We see the thing. And, we take notes on it. And then as we discuss, right, it's not just oral storytelling. It's like, well, there's a bit of Talmudic back and forth. And from that, we even have greater insights. So anyway, I'm just babbling now. I'm just rambling. I see Bridget's face. It's fine.
I checked out for a second.
Read the chat.
Oh, okay. All right. Tara said, yes, Sharon D. It's a cycle of different circumstances. Those moments are hard, but to not want it to stop your missions. And then Tess has a question. Why were the children dormant and not biting? Which, Tess, to that, I will say, season 11 of The Walking Dead, right?
In Tennessee.
Tennessee? Was it Tennessee?
With the alarm clock thrown in the field?
No, I'm
Okay.
thinking of when they're in that warehouse.
Tennessee, but yeah.
When they're in the warehouse and they like drop Carol and Daryl and
It's episode 1. It's the very beginning of the episode.
Yeah, that's what I thought it was. Yeah, okay.
Season premiere.
So, season premiere of season 11. They step into what was used as essentially like a makeshift military base, like an emergency military base, I believe. Kind of like a FEMA shelter.
Daryl finds this in Tennessee and he goes further down the path in season 11.
But
season premiere.
They're laying down sleeping. These kids are creepy AF, just like standing there.
Creepy
It
why
was
are they
weird.
Standing.
It was weird. And every example of dormancy we've seen has been either laying down or seated.
Or like,
because we
or like
saw it
propped up
in
against something. Yeah.
What's his name? Sam Whitmer. Is that his name?
Sam Witwer. Yeah.
Whitwer.
In
Sorry.
the
Yes.
Yep.
In the
season
very-
1 of The Walking Dead. Yeah.
Yes, in the very
Second
first
episode?
End of the first episode, beginning of the second episode.
Yeah.
He is seated and dormant. The what did they call them?
Lurkers.
Lurkers, yeah. The lurker in season 4 of The Walking Dead in the prison that bites Herschel in the leg. That was also a semi-dormant walker.
Yep.
And then we saw them laying in this makeshift military base. We've not seen standing. However, we have not seen a number of child walkers in mass.
Well, and just to kind of explain a little further, which could help you out, Bellevue, in case most people you don't know, Rachel, I also have problems with the English language.
Right?
In case many of you
Hard.
don't
Words
know
are hard.
and are of a certain generation, Bellevue was decommissioned as a mental institution a long time ago. I don't remember the year. Maybe I should have looked it up for New York history, but it's been decommissioned probably after The Walking Dead started, because then that would make sense, right? Now, if these children do have some sort of mental condition, I could easily see that factoring into all of this, and maybe that is a key to understanding how the nature of lurkers as a whole, that maybe there is some sort of cognitive thing that carries over in terms of brain waves and brain synapses firing. Maybe certain senses are decommissioned.
I'll give you a little history lesson on Bellevue Hospital if you want.
Sure.
Okay.
My rambling gave you time to pull it up.
It did. Bellevue Hospital, officially NYC Health and Hospitals / Bellevue, and formerly known as Bellevue Hospital Center, is a hospital in New York City and the oldest public hospital in the United States. One of the largest hospitals in the U.S. by number of beds, it is located at 462 First Avenue in the Kips Bay neighborhood of Manhattan.
That's right.
Bellevue is also home to a fire department EMS Station 08, which is formerly EMS Station 13.
Great number.
The hospital was founded and opened in March of 1736, making the hospital 289 years old, which is crazy.
Older than the country's founding. Yep.
It's insane.
Some crazy
Historically,
things happen
Bellevue
there.
was so frequently associated with its treatment of mentally ill patients that Bellevue became a local pejorative slang term for a psychiatric hospital.
Correct. We
The
used it as
hospital
kids.
has since developed into a comprehensive major medical center, including outpatient specialty and skilled nursing care, as well as emergency and inpatient services. Contains a 25-story patient care facility and has an attending physician staff of 1,200 and an in-house staff of 5,500. This is a massive place. It is a safety net hospital providing healthcare for individuals regardless of their insurance status or ability to pay, and it handles over 500,000 patient visits each year. I wanted to give you
I thought it was decommissioned though. Wasn't
when
it
it was decommissioned. That was what I was trying to get to here for you. Okay, it happened long before
Yeah,
this.
I think it was the 90s.
Okay. Well, it's kind of interesting. So there was city reorganization that started in 1902.
Oh, okay.
And the administrative Bellevue and Allied Hospitals organization were formed by the city under President John Brannan. And it also included like several other hospitals in the area. So Governor Hospital, is that how you say that?
Governor.
I don't Harlem and Fordham.
Oh, okay.
And it also opened its doors to female and black physicians, which was like unheard of at the time. In the midst of a tuberculosis and epidemic, a year later, the Bellevue Chest Service was founded. Then they started doing like cardiac work, like in the early 1900s as well, which was like just simply not a thing. This was like really cutting edge technology for hospitals. PS 106, the first public school for the emotionally disturbed children located in a public hospital, opened at Bellevue in 1935. And in 1939, David Margolis began work on 9 work projects administration murals and entrance rotunda titled Materials of Relaxation, which were completed in 1941. Bellevue became the site of the world's first hospital catastrophe unit the same year. The world's
1939.
first cardiopulmonary laboratory was established at Bellevue by Andre Cordon and Dickinson Richards. A year later, the nation's first heart failure clinic opened, staffed by Eugene Braunwald in 1952. In 1960, New York City's Office of the Chief Medical Examiner moved out of the second floor and into its new building at 520 First Avenue, but still maintained close relations with Bellevue. Bellevue joined the New York City Health and Hospitals Corporation as one of 11 acute care hospitals in 1970. And in 1981, it was certified as an official heart station for cardiac emergencies. And a year later, it was designated as a microsurgical reimplantation center for the city of New York. And by 1983, level 1 trauma center. And by 88, head and spinal cord injury center. And in 1990, it established an accredited residency program in emergency medicine. And the building that formerly served as a hospital's psychiatric facility started to be used as homeless intake and a men's homeless shelter
That's
in
right.
1998.
Mhm.
And so like, yeah, by the late 90s, it was, I mean, I would argue by the early 1900s, it no longer was just a psychiatric facility, but because it was a TB center, that would have been predominantly what it was considered, which happened with a large hospital up in Asheville, North Carolina as well.
Yeah, TB. What?
Was a large TB center, so it was like people flocked there, and then that was pretty much the only people that lived there were people who had TB until antibiotics became
a thing.
popular, and then suddenly those people could be healed and move on. So
Right.
anyway, that was a lot of
So
information, and I
98,
apologize.
it became like a intake.
1998, basically, it was the psychiatric unit was used as homeless shelter.
I see. Well, and then did it ever really decommission? I guess not. It just became
Technically
something
not,
else.
because it just kept growing. They kept adding in all these additional hospital services, and so now it's just a hospital.
Well, in any case, there you go. And you said there was did the public school inside the hospital, did that remain a thing? And this is more for children who needed extra care?
That I'm not sure. Yeah, it was for children who like essentially were
Special needs.
psychologically emotionally disturbed is
Oh,
the terminology from back then, but this would be like children with additional psychiatric needs.
yeah. Well, and that's sort of reflected, I think, in this episode, essentially, because they all sort of had the same condition.
I'm trying to think of this in terms of like the world ended in 2010
or 2008, according to us, technically.
Okay. Well, the reason I say 2010 is because in April 2010, plans to redevelop the former psychiatric hospital building as a hotel and conference center fell through. So that was like what they were pushing at that time.
I see.
Which is just kind of interesting.
Wow. Okay. All this to say, an additional thing, which was throughout our time talking about the Walking Dead universe, and we'll go back to the chat in a second because I know there was a lot of complaining back and forth, but
I'm reading it now.
The universe has tended to kind of shy away from showing zombie children and only showing them in the case of, let's say, because I don't think it was the same Walker, but because of course there was the Gus Walker in The Walking Dead. Gus, when I say Gus Walker, I'm talking about Jeffrey Dean Morgan's kid, Gus.
Dude, this kid looked like Gus.
It was Gus. I don't know for 100% for sure, but I'm pretty sure. It just looked different in terms of the zombie prosthetics.
I think that kid was much younger than Gus now. I mean, that was several years ago. That kid looked really
that's true.
young, but he did look like Gus.
Didn't he look like Gus? Yeah, he looked like him.
I'm pretty sure it was a different camera angle that made him look younger too, because you could see he's at cowboy level normally. He's like the cameras. Okay, sorry, there was a cowboy shot, which means
cowboy level. David, get lost. Get so lost.
Oh my God, this
lost.
bitch who doesn't want to learn camera angles. Okay.
No swearing, David. No swearing.
Bitch is not a swear in my world.
Well, neither is the A word, but you won't let us say that.
We can say ass because that's a donkey.
Oh, for crying out loud.
Anyway,
I need a list.
So if you notice the camera angle with the Gus Walker, I'm calling it Gus Walker. His head is basically at the bottom of the frame, which is trying to indicate, this is a young child, essentially, right? That camera angle is super high up, but also still only shows like the first half of his body. So it's trying to like indicate like a smaller perspective, like we represent the Lollipop Guild.
Wow.
I know all about that. And so I thought that was pretty cool. But clearly it was his kid. It's definitely his kid, for sure, 100%. And
we don't know that, and we're not just gonna say that.
I mean, we can look it up, but I'm pretty sure it is. But anyway, going back to the point, the fact that they showed so many kids, so many undead children, was kind of again like added to the whole excitement of this episode, flipping back and forth between Maggie and Negan.
Okay, I would argue that they've never shied away from Walker kids because it's literally in the very first episode.
That one instance does not make a pattern.
There's a fair amount because that was always a thing that like they wanted that shock value. But here's the thing: Rachel's gonna leave in like 10 minutes.
Okay.
So
I'm
gonna cut you off and say, Rachel, say what you got to get off your chest.
If you only didn't talk about Bellevue this, Bellevue that, the whole time.
I'm sorry.
Why she apologizes? I was kidding. This is your opportunity to go, shut up, Dave.
I apologize.
See, she doesn't love me enough, Rachel, because obviously she's not yelling at me.
I know she's not mean enough to you.
Right, you yell at me now, and then
I'm gonna tell you to shut your face.
Say something else. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Why am I thanking her?
And he's still going, still talking. It's
Mhm.
awesome.
Expert.
I don't know. I kind of said earlier this wasn't my favorite episode. I could say why. Okay, Maggie's tired. Wah, she hasn't slept. She's worried about her kid. Wah, like it's still annoying. Like everything that she's doing is just annoying. And yeah, when she looked over the edge in my heart of hearts, I was like, just jump, just do it, just jump, go. But at the same time, I know that feeling, right? Like I mean, I'll say I am afraid of heights, but more than that, I'm afraid of the compulsion to jump. Like that I
Oh
have
yeah.
that feeling. Cuz I'll be standing at the edge of something and I'm like, "Ooh, that's scary. I shouldn't jump." But
Isn't
what
that
if I
weird?
can
Because
fly?
I didn't ever like think that that was what made heights so scary to me. Like I didn't have like the conscious thought. But the more I
Yeah.
was thinking about it, I'm like, yeah, it's like the impulsivity comes to me like at
Mhm.
those moments.
Yeah.
It's I'm like I'm up high and I'm like, "Oh, wouldn't that be weird if all of a sudden I just fell to my death? Wouldn't that be weird if all of a sudden someone came up behind me and they knocked into me and then I fell to my death?" Like that's what I'm thinking of all the time is like how I would die. I don't know
Oh
why.
no, I have to stop myself from like taking a running swan dive off like cuz I'm like I know I can't fly, but what if
Well,
I
it's like,
can?
well, you never know what jumping to your death would feel like unless you did it.
Unless you did
Guess.
it.
It's
I
like
Yeah.
but
guess.
logically,
It
it's the
might
one
be
thing you
like
can't take back.
No.
I know. But it might be it could be like really awesome.
Most
We
painful
don't
death
know.
ever.
No, I don't think you'd feel a thing.
I mean, unless you
Honestly.
felt you hit some things along the way. You know what I'm saying?
That would suck.
Yeah, I guess that part would suck for like a second.
Fell at an awkward
But
angle
to
and
be honest,
lived.
I don't think you would feel it. I think you would have so much adrenaline rushing through your body at that point, you wouldn't even feel
You'd
any
bleed
broken
out
bones.
before pain receptors had a chance to.
I don't think you would feel anything. I think it would be amazing. And we should probably stop talking about that now, or I'm gonna go find a
Jump.
cliff somewhere.
Right, exactly. Well, so okay,
But Maggie's behavior was super annoying. I get that she was tired, whatever. But you're crossing this glass bridge. What's the one thing you're not supposed to do? Don't look down. And then she looks down, and then she's laying there.
how did she get to
It,
looking down though?
it was just with her face. She looked down with her
Nope.
eyes and her
Nope.
face.
Not.
It was annoying.
She didn't look down at all until Bridget.
Or until she
You made
fell.
but how did she
No,
fall?
she looked down while she was standing up.
She did not.
But she
I took
couldn't
note.
see anything
She
because of
did.
the
Yes, she
reflection.
did.
She couldn't see anything because there was a reflection.
That's weird because I could see things. How could she not?
Play by play, Bridget. What happened?
Well, I don't
made her
remember
fall?
exactly. Dave, don't be ridiculous. I do not
Okay,
remember that episode that well.
I was gonna avoid me dominating the conversation, but okay. What happens is she's walking. Okay, of course, there's a weird forced perspective view. Okay, because apparently this is the twisted sky bridge between the two buildings that fell that the crane caught, and when it fell, the floor is now sideways. Maggie, throughout this episode, to establish the fact that she is not quite, first of all, physically 100%, to say that is an understatement, because she hasn't slept. This is a common refrain in Fear the Walking Dead. We saw this with Alicia throughout season, I think it was 7. Or no, season 7 or 6 or something like that. It's like, this girl hasn't slept.
It was closer to the end because it wasn't super great writing.
Right. Well, there's season 7, and I remember we just constantly talked about Alicia not sleeping. But anyway,
Right.
not sleeping.
Anyway, Maggie's doing the same thing now.
Inarguably despairing, because I think there's that tether. She's lost the last tether to her child. Effectively, she doesn't have him. They're on the outs. She's trying to find him, and there's that impulse. And this is a parallel to what Negan is experiencing as well. They'd be better off. They'd be better off without me. And that's hard. So there's that. She gets dizzy because of the forced perspective, the tiredness, etc. She falls on the floor that is now a wall. And of course, she falls down face first. And when she wakes up, all she can see is ground.
No, I think she fell on her back. She has to turn around to like try to get up. I thought that was what had happened.
No, she fell on her face. She fell forward. When
The walkers knock her
she
over.
crumpled to her
She's
knees.
fighting with the walkers.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
what
You're right. She was fighting with the walkers. One came as she was resting on the floor, aka the wall. I think 3 walkers came. That's right. I wrote this
Yeah.
down too. And then obviously she falls over afterwards because she's exhausted and she crumples to face first onto the floor. It's not like she looked at the floor. She was brought to her knees basically, and she fell face forward. And the glass starts to crack, et cetera, et cetera. You know the whole story basically. But when she kind of opens her eyes, after crumpling down, it's all floor. All she sees is the ground beneath her, the very thing she's been staring into the abyss about. And then the glass starts cracking, and she's wondering, well, it could end right here, and it'd be fine. And she says to Mile, he's like, go, go, go. And she's like, I can't. Like, I know that you're annoyed by Maggie, but there's gotta be part of you that can connect to this. Like, I know this is the thing that I've said before. I know that it's hard to watch somebody that's pathetic, period. Doesn't matter who it is, really. You want your protagonists to be heroes. You want them to persevere. You want them to overcome. Watching a pity party sort of tragedy porn is not necessarily what we want out of our protagonists. But there's a story here that has to play out in order to get to the payoff. And I think inarguably you sort of get that at the end when she's holding Mile out of the window. Apparently now she's driven enough to kind of like not want to fall into the abyss to hold him over the edge. There's a translation happening here too. So I don't know. I'm not trying to convince you of anything. I'm just saying this is what I saw.
Cool.
But wait, there was something I wanted to bring up as well. Oh, well, I did look into the fear that we're talking about, the compulsion to jump. And a paper was actually written about this. Let me read what I've highlighted, though. It's from Nautilus, which is nautil.us. And it's the difficulties presented by these effects.
Excellent source.
It's a science paper. It's not a blog, you dingbat. This is the comments.
It's the .us that convinced me.
Yeah.
Why? The title is "Why You Feel the Urge to Jump." The difficulties presented by these effects: faulty visual perspective, poor body control, weak vestibular signaling, and overestimation contribute to making acrophobia, or fear of heights, one of the most common phobias in the world, affecting 1 in 20 people. But unlike snake, spider, or blood phobias, acrophobia can produce a bizarrely counterintuitive effect: the impulse to yield to the source of panic and willingly jump. As complex as our fear of heights is, the urge to jump is even more difficult to explain. Jennifer Hames, a clinical psychology professor at the University of Notre Dame, specializing in suicidal behavior, has dubbed the sudden impulse to jump the high place phenomenon, HPP. In a landmark 2012 paper, so, well, had the apocalypse not happened, she would have published it. In a landmark 2012 paper, she and her colleagues found that half of 431 subjects who'd never considered suicide had thought about leaping from high elevations, and there's a reference. Among people with past suicidal thoughts, 75% felt the urge to jump. She theorizes that the urge may come from a misinterpretation of a signal sent to the conscious brain by the body's safety systems. Our fear circuitry, which includes the amygdala and other fast-acting subconscious brain regions, may send an alarm to the prefrontal cortex for interpretation. Your conscious processing, which operates at a slower speed than the fear circuitry, recognizes the alarm signal but may not know why it was sent. So basically, there are parts of your brain that are acting faster than your conscious brain. And when it sends the signal to your conscious brain, it doesn't know what it's doing. And by then, you're already jumping, essentially. And you catch yourself, just like Maggie catches herself, like Mila is catching her catch herself. So it's very fascinating stuff. I could go on, but I will not. But I thought that was kind of interesting because it explains that phenomenon. And, you know, there's obviously intense research on this subject more recently than, because, right, what the old expression was, it's not the fear of falling. It's, what is it? It's not the fear of heights, it's the fear of falling was the old expression. And here it's like, well, no, actually it's the misinterpreted signal by your brain sending you an alarm too
That
slowly.
you'll suddenly jump for some
And you'll
for some
jump
reason.
before you receive or interpret that signal, basically. Like a misfiring or misinterpretation of that fear. It's interesting, very interesting. So, yeah. Yeah, there's more I could say about that, but I mean, to even bring it to a personal level, and we'll move on and we'll talk about the chat. I mean, I feel this not only on the exhaustion level, but there's a thing that happens to me when I get super, super depressed. And I think many of you may feel this. I kind of just shut down and I get super tired. Everything exhausts me. Not like on a, oh, I'm feeling really tired. No, literally, if I fall asleep now, I will not wake up for an extremely long time, or I'll wake up in fits and then just go back to sleep because I just don't want to face whatever thing that I have to face. And so that, I think that kind of helped me. And I just can recall any given moment in time in my past where that's happened to me. And as Maggie goes throughout this episode, I feel her despairing. I can feel that despair. I can feel like, why bother? Why? What am I doing this for? And then, like, when I think of the audience, like represented by Rachel, let's say right now, because she's the only one that's here that feels this way, maybe, I don't know. Bridget, you can weigh in a sec, but like when I see then the audience feel that way, I feel it even harder in a sense, because maybe they're right. Like maybe I should give up. Like I'm putting myself in her shoes. I'm saying that's why I'm saying it. Like, relax, guys. I'm okay. But I'm just saying I'm tapping into that feeling of feeling, well, if everybody else is telling me to give up, maybe I should. And so that I kind of had that in my watch for some reason. Like I could, and you know what? The world would be better off. You know what I mean? And so that made me really, really, on top of like the suspenseful nature of the filming and going back and forth between the Abyss and Maggie, I started feeling like that part of it, the fear impulse and the urge impulse, and also like the despair impulse, just all of that coming together made for a really exciting episode for me to watch. But also, how rude. Make me feel this way. So anyway, let's go to the chat. I don't know if you have anything to say that, Bridget, but do you feel sort of the same, before we go to the chat, Bridget, do you feel similarly to Rachel in that respect?
The fear, not the
No, of like annoyance with Maggie.
No, I don't think I do. I mainly was like, this is weird and kind of dumb. This like, I'm so exhausted I can't go on, because I'd be okay with it. And she's had a rough day, don't get me wrong. But she did sleep. That
like
last
15
episode
minutes.
started with her waking up.
When was that? What was the...
They slept overnight at Bruegel's
Oh, let's sleep on it?
place. Yeah, they slept. So I'm just kind of like, okay, like I get the stress. Don't get me wrong. Like you're talking about like, this is your reaction to depression. It's not mine. But it is my reaction to stress. Whenever I have a lot to do, I feel more tired than I've ever felt in my entire life. And I would just like to go to sleep, but I can't because I have too much to do. And if I sleep, I won't get it done. So what do? I go take a freaking nap and I'm going to sleep until 4 a.m. because I've convinced myself I'm going to get up at 4 a.m. I'm going to do what I need to do before I have to go to work or before I have to go to the airport or whatever. But that's a lie. I'm not going to wake up then. I'm going to sleep through the alarm. And then my husband's going to be mad because I snooze like 20 times. And he's like, just get up. Why did you even set the alarm if you're not even going to get up? And then I'm like panicked because I didn't get anything
he's
done.
mad at me. That adds
a whole thing.
More stress to it.
It's a whole thing for me.
And then do you ever end up doing it? Like, because I'm curious, because it's half and half with me. Like, I will not do it sometimes.
I gave you such a specific scenario. I feel like I must do this, Dave. Like,
I feel like you do end up getting it done, right? Though, like 99% of the time, if not 100.
No, not always. No,
but
not always.
Majority.
No. Anyway,
Like more than 50. Anyway.
Dave. Shut up, Dave. This is,
I'm
the
just-
percentage doesn't matter. Okay,
I
so
want to know. I'm trying to connect with you. See, she got mad at me. That's why I know she loves me.
oh my god.
my
Oh my god. I'm gonna you know what I said I was gonna
It's
punch
past my
computer?
bedtime. Let her finish.
You said I was gonna punch my computer. I'm actually gonna punch through my computer to you. Okay.
Yeah, you can get me.
So so see, now I lost my train of thought. This is why you can't do this, Dave. Where you ask me like
Staying up
inane
late.
questions.
Staying up late,
Said
not
it was
getting the
my
work
stress
done,
response.
connecting
My
with Maggie.
my issue with this is that it almost seemed as though she was drugged. Like it was we're beyond exhaustion. And trust me, I've been
Yeah.
exhausted. I have been exhausted. I accidentally took nighttime Excedrin at work when I was hungover. So yeah, it was one of the worst days. To this day I remember exactly how I felt because it was so bad. I'd gotten like 2 hours of sleep. I went and bought Excedrin from down at the corner market. It was nighttime apparently, and I took it. And then I was like jacked up for the rest of my shift and standing at a calculator trying to input. I looked like I was nodding out, and I worked with a bunch of drug addicts at the time, so I'm sure that's what everyone thought about me. But anyway, the way that she was acting,
thought Maggie was possibly drugged.
it almost seemed like the Croat had drugged her. And then I was like, did she take anything from him at any point? Like water or something? I was trying to put that together because this was a hard sell for me. I feel like I get what story they're trying to spin, but something missed the mark here.
I'm open to that possibility.
Something missed the mark here. There were really cool moments in this episode, so I'm not saying that I didn't like it. There were some really great moments in this episode. The Negan scenes were phenomenal. I just wanted to go back to the Negan scenes. The scenes with the Croat were actually quite good. I enjoyed this storytelling about him and his mother and all of this stuff and the references to his mother, even though clearly he knew his mother was dead.
How we remember things differently too.
I loved a lot of this episode, but these scenes, this like falling out situation, I just couldn't get behind. I could if there had been some other development in this season, like is Maggie malnourished due to like the lack of abundance of crop at the bricks? Is this a thing? We haven't seen them eat a ton. Is that part of it? Even just a passing line would have sold that enough for me to be like, oh, okay, that's what it is.
Well, the Croat said it too.
I'm all for like not giving heavy exposition, show don't tell, great. But this was a case in which this was a hard sell for me, and all I could remember was the methane poisoning. And I was like, this is weird. This is weird, and I don't like it. And also, is any of it real?
Yeah, at one point I was trying to think of like whether the Croat himself was real.
That's
Maggie.
how I felt. And then at the end, I was like, is the Dama even really alive?
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Do you see
wow.
what,
Okay.
like it just
to add to that.
all of it just felt like weird and disconnected. And I felt like, am I too tired?
Well, then
to
who
watch
knocked
this?
Maggie out? Was it Herschel? Oh
Maybe.
God.
Maybe she just passed out.
What we
nobody
choose
knocked
to
her
see.
out. She just passed out.
Yeah, maybe.
All of the above.
Maybe. I like it.
All right.
I'm sorry you didn't like this episode as much, Rachel. I will say
it wasn't my favorite. I wanted to talk more about Herschel and the whole scene and what that means, but I'm tired and it's my bedtime.
Well then, everybody. Say goodnight to everybody.
Good night, everybody.
Good night. You froze.
What? Why are you looking at me
It was
so
a good pose
weird?
though.
Because you froze for a second. You were like this.
See now Rachel's Maggie. Why?
Okay.
Why are you being weird?
I am. But the difference is I'm going to bed. Maggie needs to take a nap if she's that tired.
You know what she says
And
to that?
you know,
No, I
like Bridget
don't.
said, she did sleep. She did sleep. So get it together, sister. Yeah, I don't know what's going on with her, but it was annoying. And the Negan, I found the Negan stuff a little annoying too. It was annoying because I was convinced things were happening and then they weren't happening. And I'm like, son of a, it was annoying. That's what was
The
annoying.
Sharondy effect, hating hallucination
Oh.
scenes.
Yeah, that's
Yes.
fair.
And I'm like, okay, now you've wasted my time. Cool. Thanks. All right. Good night.
And there we are.
Right.
Good night, Rachel. And then there were two. That's right. Well, why don't you reread the hat? Because we missed a whole bunch of chat.
We did miss a lot of chat. Okay. So Tess, this is in reference to Benjamin Pierce and Negan sharing
History.
memory.
Right.
Tess says he doesn't remember a lot from the before, and to share different stories from the past world before the zombies in a safer time. Life was different before the outbreak. Good times and bad. The overlap of keeping a different type of living. And then Charity said, I got the dormant part. What upset me was that these people are still letting kid walkers freak them out.
I'd be freaked out. Are you kidding me?
They're
But there
creepy,
is-
but like I get what she's saying.
Can we drill down on that a little bit before you continue? Because
Okay.
to pair it with what I was mentioning before about Maggie. So Maggie encounters in season 11. This is like in the middle of season 11. They're on the train tracks after having, I don't remember exactly when this happens, but she's on the train tracks alone, trying to go after Herschel. I think she's heading towards Alexandria to Outpost 22 at the time is what they called it. And she encounters a child walker on the tracks. And it's similar to what Negan encounters in the hospital, where he just can't bring himself to kill that kid walker. And she struggles and she struggles. And I think in the end, somebody else uses the crossbow. I don't know if it was Daryl or whatnot, but somebody else ends up taking out that kid walker. I don't think it was her.
Someone else does end up there. I do not remember.
I think
I
she
don't
like
remember. I just
pushes
watched
it
it
away.
not that long ago either. Yeah, she does. She has to hide too during that point because a Commonwealth soldier comes up on like a bike.
Right. Has no problem killing that person. Or something to that effect. I can't remember what. But I could not get that out of my head how those scenes are parallel
Yeah.
each other. Sorry, keep going.
Tess said I explore it. That would be an interesting adventure because of the history.
Oh, Bellevue.
Um,
Okay.
Charity says, by upset, I mean irritated the crap out of me. Tess also said, I think Negan was picturing Joshua as a walker and it threw him off. I agree. Charity kid walkers aren't new. Bridget is the backstory insider. You might end up on the bottom and survive with so much pain with bones shattered. She's referencing the jumping.
Yep.
You could actually live. That has
Yeah.
happened to people.
To skydivers in particular.
Well, no, it's happened to people who've been trying to kill themselves.
Yeah.
In like river basins and stuff.
Crazy spinal dysplasias and all that stuff too. Oof.
Yeah. Yeah, Tess had also said that she did have to turn over after killing the walkers. Like she was on her back and I felt like she had to turn over. That's when it started cracking and then that's when
All
she
right,
had
to
like,
pick
spread
herself
out.
up. Right.
Yes.
But then she froze.
She looked directly down, but before she moved further down the bridge, and that increased the vertigo. Charity said, good thing Ray's in a basement apartment. It makes it harder to jump. And
The
and
only
when
way
your
is
brain-
up.
when your brain says jump, you say how high. And then Tess said that she completely related to what you were talking about with the depression and the
Thank
giving
you.
up. She may have had a restless sleep. That could be why she was so tired.
Of course.
Charity said, I've stayed up for 3 days and not been falling out like Maggie.
Wait,
And
can we just interject for 1 second? Because I don't think she slept. I mean, in fact, she woke up, quote unquote, to Herschel's footsteps, and then the bear fight happens and takes him all the way into the morning, I guess, is what ends up happening.
no, they actually leave that scene. So I don't think that you do. I don't think it was because I remember thinking like, wake up, get up. You're not even asleep was what I thought at the time during the episode, but she doesn't move when he's like getting up and moving. So she must have been asleep.
For a little while, but I think, okay, and just to piece it together, and now I'm getting it, because, okay, she kills the bear, which it happens in the early morning. Herschel dips after he does his side throw. It's early morning still, which is why it's so dark. It's like maybe 4 a.m., something to that effect. It's still dark. She's
It was light.
so it's early morning.
It was
then.
light.
Right.
Yeah, it was early morning.
They're
Yeah,
cleaning
but it
up.
was
It's
light.
already 9 o'clock or 8 o'clock or something like that. But she's going straight to the church to see Negan outside. The advice, blah, 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 et cetera, et cetera. Then she heads straight to King Francis Theater, which probably takes, you would think it would be like, normally it would be like 20 minutes, but you're going through.
Yeah, I get it could take longer.
Right, because of the walkers, the dominated land.
And that's at night. It is.
No,
it
that's
is
in the
dark.
morning still. Sorry. That's in the morning still. So
No,
she hasn't gotten
Dave.
much sleep.
Dave, the room is lit up with sunlight when Herschel gets up. It's very early morning when he gets up. That's morning.
When she catches him by the reservoir,
Yes.
about to dump the blood. Okay, so it's
Yes.
super early morning. Okay, fine.
That's what I'm saying. Like when it gets dark later, that's at night.
So I would argue then she hasn't really slept then, because she's been looking for
Okay.
Herschel since the bear attack.
I understand that. I'm saying like that you're on adrenaline. It's not enough for this. This is too severe of a reaction is what I'm saying. Like
I don't
this
think
is
so.
too severe.
I don't think I disagree. Because even if you're saying it's at night when she heads to the church, that means she's been up all day, which
Correct.
makes it even worse. I don't think she slept too much because she roused from whatever light sleep she was roused by when Herschel passes her by, which means she wasn't really sleeping. I mean, she was, but she wasn't. She was on alert. So that means she's been up the whole day. She goes to the next day, et cetera, et cetera. And there's also the emotional
I'm not
toll.
saying you wouldn't be tired. You would be tired. I'm saying to be nearly passing out while standing up seems excessive to me.
And then my explanation of, well, it's not about the physical fatigue as much as it is the mental fatigue, which is completely, as you've said in the past, wholly understandable. She's lost everybody.
I understand that. I understand that. It does not lead to you passing out like that.
I would argue differently, just from my own experience.
Okay, this is from my experience. I think this is
Well,
over the top.
Your experience is wrong.
Okay. I think you're going to
I am joking.
I think you're going to find that that's what this is probably the issue that most people had with this episode.
That's okay. They can be wrong too, like you. You can join the
fine.
wrong club.
I don't care if you think I'm wrong, but I'm just
The
saying,
wrong club has many seats open.
I think it's just
I am being facetious. I hope you know that.
I don't know. Yeah, and
She
then
doesn't
and then
know.
Sharon brings up another good point.
Okay.
So she says she slept long enough for the Croat to fix her a flashlight.
15
Which
minutes.
isn't no, it would have probably taken a little bit longer than that. But there is like some sleep that's happening.
Yeah, but that big old tire. I don't know. I feel like of course you pass out and you sleep.
You're not going to feel rested. I'm not saying you would wake up and be like, oh, I'm refreshed.
I'm so refreshed from this
But
passing out.
You also wouldn't be like, it's one thing like you're so afraid maybe you passed out with the bridge. Like that I can kind of write off a
Well, and
little
she's
bit.
been going up and down too with her adrenaline too. And she wakes up and what is the first thing that she does? She's on alert. She's picking up she has her knife at the ready for the Croat.
Yeah, I'm not saying that
Yeah.
I just think it seems really unrealistic. I'm having a hard time with this.
Well, we can disagree on that, but that's okay. We'll keep going with the chat. I don't know if there's any more. Yeah,
I'm just saying. Anyway, forget it. It's fine. Those moments, Tess said those moments left different roads that could be discussed in future episodes in different perspectives. And Charity said, I agree, Bridget. It was hard to tell what was real and what was dream sequence in that, or what was like hallucination.
Which I agree. I think pairs well with the Negan scenes. You have to admit that going back and forth between Negan, basically he has a concussion. I think.
Oh yeah. And
it pairs like
that's the thing. Like his scenes are more believable to me.
I think that's a gateway, though. I think it's a bridge, a twisted bridge between the two characters, which is a thing in filming. Is like when you can parallel.
His is a little more believable to me. He gets concussed. That makes sense then to me that you would be. That's the thing. Did Maggie hit her head? Like if she had fallen like down the staircase or something when she hit that booby trap, some of this stuff could have like. It's like it could have it just needed like a slight deviation for me to believe it. Maybe it just needed a little bit for me to believe it. That's all. And Charity said I've had to pull over and take a nap because I was snapping in and out like that, to be honest.
Yeah, that's why I've learned to take a little longer in my drives down to Georgia.
Oh yeah.
I know how to pace myself now. Whereas before it's like, I have kid energy. I can do it all in one shot and just fill up and pee in a Gatorade bottle or a Powerade bottle. Yeah, that's right. I never did that. I'm just saying I could have, but I didn't.
Well, and driving is different. You're seated. There's scientific reasons as to why you become tired more quickly when you're seated, and it has to do with like the compression of your organs and the restriction of your blood flow. Being upright and walking is that naturally helps you to stay awake.
Yeah, different hormones and chemicals get released because of
Yeah.
it. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's not this up, down, or resting state that you're in when you're in the car. And yet all of your synapses
Correct.
are firing. So you're getting exhausted in that. Your brain tired, essentially.
Yeah, correct. Which and if you told me like, "Oh, she drove 14 hours to get here," then I could like believe it, but it's just here's my greater issue with this, Dave, is like you're saying like, "Okay, well, I'm saying it is believable, so that's fine." And that's fine for you.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's fine for me.
That's fine. I understand that. That's fine for you. But what's frustrating to me is that like this isn't super strong writing. And so I don't feel good saying, "Oh yeah, I'm willing to write it off." I just can't.
Disagree.
Like,
I will say this is probably my favorite episode. That's
I
how much I liked
understand
it.
that you're saying that you disagree. I understand that, Dave. What I'm saying is that like just because you think that it's fine doesn't detract that like I am saying that this is not great writing. Like nobody has to take my opinion as fact, but I'm just saying like in my opinion,
I'm not.
this is not great. There are great parts to this episode.
Yeah, I agree. I'm
This
not saying
was
that
a
you're
very
wrong, by the way.
weak point.
I will
It's
say
a very weak
I take your feedback as intel on how I'm to perceive this episode, even though I felt differently. It's fine. That's why we do this. I am joking. I am totally joking. I don't want you to be on my train. I'm just gonna give you my experience and be like, well,
No,
maybe,
I understand
maybe
that. I
there's a
understand.
gateway
I just
here.
want you to understand that I feel
I
like
do.
there are probably a lot of people out there that like just they do feel this way.
Because again,
just hard.
I wonder the following, and I think
Okay.
is this also? I mean, I feel like the answer is rhetorical, but I think a lot of this is contributed by the fact that Lauren Cohan left The Walking Dead. I don't know
Sure.
about unceremoniously. I know her contract ran out too. There was a part of that going on too, and so she could leave the
It's
show.
an opportunity at something new, so I could see
She
trying
wasn't
to
offered a
take that.
contract renewal. That's the thing. Meaning, like it was like Daryl, Carol,
Oh.
sorry, Daryl, Norman Reedus,
Norman, Melissa.
Melissa McBride, and it was one other actor. I think it was Denai Guerrera. And they came in first, and she wasn't offered the contract renewal. She could have asked for it, but she didn't, and she took it as they ran out. And so in that period of running out, she took the opportunity to say, "Hey, I think I'm going to leave the show," and they were like, "Okay, peace," and then we'll figure it out. You know what I mean? So.
Yeah.
I think and I think that factors into, let's say, hardcore fans. We'll call it hardcore fans of how they perceive the character as a result. And it's one of those things that like as much it helps me figure out like also how, of course, you shouldn't hate the actor or the character when one does something awful, right? But at the same time, I can understand how that can factor in. But you're gonna read the chat now and completely ignore me. It's fine.
No. What I'm saying
'Cause
is
you're
like I get
reacting
what
to
you're
it.
saying. I didn't feel that way about Lauren
But
Cohen.
I'm not
don't
saying
have-
that. I'm saying, does that in any way factor in though?
No. I don't have any beef with her, and I even talked at the beginning of this season about how like for the first time it felt like she was her again, like that she was Maggie in this
okay.
season. Like I felt like she had come into the season really strongly. So that's not it at all. It's got nothing
Okay.
to do with her.
With the ghost underneath your floorboards again?
Hold on.
Well, I'm going to read the chat now. It's definitely possible. So Tess says it's definitely possible. It varies from person. Are you okay? Do you want me to stop? Now green lights are going off for some reason. She's not saying anything. So it's definitely possible. It varies from person to person. Sharon says a 20-minute nap is enough to rejuvenate you. I agree under normal circumstances because that's what I do. Wait, F them kids? Okay, I guess Sharon D's here. Hey, Sharon D.
Hello.
All right, let me pause your uploads for a hot sec. A whole lot of things are going on. Bridget suddenly went cuckoo bananas. She'll explain herself in a second. Hopefully. Hope she's not... Like on the stream, it looks like her house is on fire, but like with black dots. Anyway, okay, let me continue reading the chat. Well, why? Well, I'm going to skip over you, Sharon. You can just say the things out loud. I don't know what you're saying. I absolutely agree, Tess. What are you agreeing to? Maybe Sharon D? Oh, okay. You're saying... Okay, Kim says, according to the studies, being awake for 48 hours can have similar effects on cognitive and motor performance as blood alcohol concentration of 0.1 or higher, 0.1% or 0.10% or higher. So like it produces a BAC effect similar to being above being drunk, basically. Which is basically what I'm saying. And then going rapidly from an alert state to your normal state does take a toll on you physically too, as well. And then, I can see that easily being the case, having almost fallen from a sky bridge and then suddenly being brought back in. Heather says popping in to say hi and that this was not a good episode for me to watch while distracted and trying to multitask. No, it is not. Numerous times I was like, wait, what's going on? What did I miss? So, yeah, you should concentrate for this episode or else you won't appreciate it, actually. You still might not appreciate it.
I did concentrate and I didn't appreciate it that much.
And Tess says finally. Not that great. Tess says finally, you definitely had to lock in for this episode. Yeah, I agree. 100%.
So, I mean, like, I get what they were trying to draw this parallel between Negan and Maggie with them both being loopy or whatever.
Or wanting to give up.
But I agree with Bridget. This just wasn't well written. Like, they could have... Negan, I get. He fell down. But then again, he fell down because it was a kid walker. Like, come on. It's been 17 years. You're 17 years into the apocalypse. You telling me you haven't dealt with kid walkers? Like, this kid walker wasn't anything special to you. You've had to deal with this before. So why is it... Like, so I thought...
But they've never dealt well with it. At all.
Well, they've never really dealt with it on the show. I'm saying in real life, you would have had to deal with kid walkers a lot throughout your 17 years surviving. It's just the way it is. There's a lot of children in the world, and those children have become walkers, and you will have to deal with them. So, not being able to deal with seeing a kid walker at this point in the apocalypse it's not believable to me at all.
Well, let's go to Bridget for a second. Bridget, what happened?
Oh my god!
What you're like? Okay, all right. What is going? And then she like, it looked like you pulled your computer apart for a hot sec.
Basically, so I did not. It's storming here. Frankenstein is afraid of storms. She goes behind the computer desk. And all of a sudden, my keyboard just starts sliding back. And I was like, that's when I was like, hey, wait a second here. So then I yell at her. I'm like, get out from behind there. When she comes out, she grabs another cord, the HDMI cord to the monitor, is wrapped around her body, and she's forcing her giant body through.
Giant fat dog ass.
So she unplugs the monitor. The entire desk goes like sideways.
Yeah, I saw that too.
And then I'm yelling. I muted because I was screaming, Travis! Like as though he did something. He didn't do anything. But the dog just made me so mad. I flipped out, and then I was like, you're being a jerk right now to the dog. And Travis is like, no, she's not. She's just being a dog.
She's being a dog.
But I was really mad at her.
Again, so many reasons for the human supremacy group to just exist.
I was so mad at her.
Just saying.
Anyway, did you read the chat?
I did read the chat. It's all good.
You brought up a good point.
It's all good.
Oh, yeah.
Well, we didn't hear that.
He said I wanted to make sure you tell the whole story in which you made her anxiety 10 times worse because you're yelling at her while she's got cords wrapped around her body.
She did not accurately portray that.
I didn't know.
No.
That's what happened.
You made yourself be the hero of your own story, basically. Unlike
I was not the hero of that story, but neither was Frankie.
It's just it's so appropriate that Frankenstein
Travis
would
was
be
the
afraid
hero.
of storms.
Yeah, she's very afraid of storms.
Yeah.
She's
Well,
horrified.
in terms of heroes of their own story, well, first, let's say, Bridget, what do you have? Because I already talked about the chat. What do you think about the chat? What was said in the chat?
So yeah, okay, so Kim, see, like I shouldn't have to do deep research to feel this, to feel like I
I
can
didn't do any
understand
deep
an
research,
episode.
and I understood it completely. But I guess some people don't have media literacy.
Oh
I
wow.
suppose.
Oh wow, Dave. Oh wow. Yeah, Kim brings up a good point. Kim brought up a really good point. So thank you, Kim. And
Again, she's wrong. Is what you're gonna say?
No, I'm not a Maggie hater. I'm like trying to
No, I
reiterate.
know. I didn't say that.
I like Maggie. I always have. So like
I like
this
Maggie.
is not me. It's not me disliking Maggie by any means. I know that is people's like immediate default. I see it all the time online. Like Maggie sucks. She's so whiny. Blah, 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 blah. I'm the one who said last week. Like
It doesn't have to be
have some
extreme.
sympathy.
I'm going to speak for myself. I think for me, on an unconscious level, it does factor in for me a little bit, and that in my mind, or maybe my unconscious mind, I don't know, I'm kind of trying to be self-aware of it. There has to be a little bit more legwork when it comes to not redeeming Maggie per se, or even Lauren Cohan, but there is an element of, well, make it worth having left the show. That I think it's a reasonable feeling. I'm not saying you do. I'm saying speaking for me.
I'm saying like that doesn't even like none of that
Yeah.
even plays into
Okay.
this.
No, I'm just saying
For
even
me.
for myself is what I'm saying, is that there is a degree, whatever minor, that, you know, I would want there to be a sort of, okay, make this worth it. And that does apply to the show itself too. How, you know, for justify your existence. Can't just be about,
Yeah.
hey, here's a wacky premise. Let's pick the two people that hate each other most in the Walking Dead universe and put them together on a brand new spin-off
In New York
in New
City.
York City.
But I mean, they do have good chemistry. There's no denying that. And I'm
They do.
not even talking about hate bank stuff. I mean, just
That's
them
clear
on
in my
screen
example.
together.
I'm making that very clear.
They have
Yes.
really good chemistry. It's
But-
not, and it's not even that they hate each other, because they could be totally different characters and they would still be great together on screen.
But my point is, it's not enough. Look what they did in the Walking Dead Daryl Dixon. Do you know what I mean? They took the opportunity to expand on these characters and give them more justice, and you know what I mean?
So I read an article, and I don't remember what it was, so I'm sorry I can't credit it. It's just something I read somewhere. And they were talking about how part of the problem with the spin-offs is they're not changing. They're just doing the same things over and over again, with the exception of Daryl Dixon, which has gone in different directions and done different things. But I think they proved right, because they're doing exactly what they did last season with Maggie. Like I said earlier in the chat, she was down in the catacombs, dizzy from the methane, stumbling around. And now she's doing the exact same. I think it was even the same episode in the, well, no, because we have more episodes this season. But anyway, I mean, they are doing the same thing over and over again. It's not. Maybe that's another problem I'm having with the series, because I'm really not enjoying it that much. It's just there's nothing exciting or new. It's the same. Oh, look, here's a group that we're going to join, and now it's going to be destroyed because we joined it, and now we have to fight the governor again, who has these people behind him, and he does weird things with walkers. I mean, it's the same thing over and over again. Yeah, you know what? You're right, Herschel. We shouldn't go back to the old way. let's
I think
go towards the new.
as far as Maggie's concerned, I think, at least for her part, I think that's intentional. I think it's taking Negan in a direction that I think we've always wanted him to go, to confront this. Like, it's not enough to apologize for what you've done, but let's explore what that means now going forward, and how that relates to where you are now, and how it's coming up and bubbling up again. Your past is, you are being confronted with your past yet again, and what it means to have done what you've done. And I think with the show, like, just skipping ahead to his part, I think what the show has done with him and his character, and it's a perfectly valid explanation. We've always asked the question, you know, why him? We say the Riz and all that stuff, and and all the silly things. We like watching him on screen, but that's for us as analysts. But I think as far as the character goes, it's the same answer to the question of, like, why let Virgil live. It was a quintessential one on The Walking Dead. Why let Virgil live after he did all those things to Michonne on Bloodsworth Island in The Walking Dead season 10? Why? That effer needs to die because he drugged Michonne. But the point was to say that while you're alive, while you have breath, you have the ability to help people and do good and be a contributor, even though you did terrible things, because we've all done terrible things. When you take that to somebody like Negan, it's not about being redeemed per se, and maybe you can never be redeemed, but seeing it, the past, his past, the theme of this episode is the past. Was it, do we go back? Or do we make something new? Him confronting his past, not just the past with the saviors, the past with Lucille, and seeing that come to a head and saying, well, it wasn't all bad. Because that's the way you're seeing your past. It wasn't all bad. You actually, yeah, you say that it wasn't enough, but for me, it was enough. You clothed me, you dressed, you bathed me, you dressed me, you got me up in the morning. That is enough. That's more than enough. That's more than what most people would ask for before and after the apocalypse, but especially after the apocalypse.
That's why I was excited for this series, Dave, because like they are extending the story of characters who did not really get an ending. Like we got the conversation in the series finale of The Walking Dead. We got the conversation between Maggie and Negan. But for a lot of people that didn't feel like it was enough, I felt like it was okay. Like I felt good about it. I felt like it could have ended and it was fine. But for other people, that was not enough. And to know that Negan lives, because that is his comic book story, is that he continues on after that. And there's another additional story for him. You knew that he was going on living and that he was out there in the world. And so you kind of want to know like what happens. And for a lot of people who really, really, really loved Glenn, they're like, there was never any justice there. Now, if you really, really did love Glenn, you know that Glenn wouldn't have wanted.
Which you mentioned in the last episode.
He wouldn't have wanted him to be killed. But I was excited for this because I was like, great, we can finally extend these characters' stories and get it kind of into the nitty gritty of like what this means for them. I guess with that being all that being said, even knowing like going into season 2, having season 1, I guess I didn't assume there would be so much Herschel content. Like I'm going to say this out loud and it's going to sound so horrible.
We'll clean it up.
I just don't care enough about him. I don't
That's
have
fair.
buy-in to him.
I actually
He's not
agree.
one of my main characters.
I agree, actually. Yeah.
Like I feel bad because like I should care, but like I just don't care as much about him. And we haven't really gotten a ton of character development for him either. We got a little.
We never got to know him. Yeah.
Yeah. So like I don't really have one feeling one way or the other about it.
Well, so then what does Herschel become in the absence of that? A foil for Maggie. And I can agree. I can concede. This is what I was trying to say before. I was trying to get to this point, which was I can see how people are looking at this writing, and for Negan, it's great. We're getting some meat here with Negan.
Yeah,
sure.
Yeah.
And pairing that with Maggie, I think they're trying to build a bridge to Maggie through Negan, because these scenes that are happening, there's a dissolve that happens with the flashlight. I know there's 2 dissolves actually that work very well when they flip back and forth between Negan and Maggie.
Those transitions were spectacular.
So great. The flashlight one where she finally gets it to work and does the lightning bug signal.
Moves her hand over it. Yeah.
It goes to Negan leaving the hallway with his flashlight. There's that one. The second one is I think it's Negan. It hits his head on. No. It's Let me bring this up.
He had hit his head on the sink basin, and when it comes back to him.
Sorry,
Maggie has like a walker over her.
Other way around. More walkers arrive, and she barely makes it out before the Croat arrives to say bravo in the maze, the walker maze, and she passes out. And when she passes out, it is a blur dissolve and goes to Negan, waking up to Gus Walker's blood on his face. Brilliant. Again, because this is storytelling. This is good writing. It is. I'm not saying it's all good writing. I'll give you that. Fine.
No, but those parts were fantastic. I loved that, and like I said, I was really intrigued by what was happening with Negan. So I wanted to go back to his story. We've talked about this before. Like we talked about this in Silo a lot. When we were like just waiting for like the other part of the story.
I want to go back, but then it turned though, because I remember in Silo there were like moments where like, oh, I want to go back here, but like then all of a sudden, wait, I want to go back there now because that was interesting. Yeah. Anyway, all this to really say is that these scenes are meant to tell you these are not even two halves of the same whole. It's the same story. When you're looking at Negan saying, justify my existence, Maggie, same energy. Same energy. You're meant to, when you look at the exhaustion, you go back to Negan and you see what he's actually saying with words. Like it's a form of show don't tell, where Maggie's not saying a word, but Negan is saying all the Maggie words. Negan is saying, "Why me? After everything I've done, why me?" And Maggie is sort of the same way. Why me? Why go on?
Yeah, but it's
Over and over again. I keep
his is
failing.
like his is more like after I've done all of these things. She's like after all of these things have
Been
happened.
done to me. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, yeah, I can get that.
And where's my role
like
in
I
all
said,
this?
like I don't ever want to come off as like just blatantly hating things.
I
You
never
know
think that
It's
about you, baby.
I never want to be that person because that's how I found you guys was because I was so tired of trying
You were
to
so
find Walking
tired,
Dead.
like Maggie.
Walking Dead
This
podcast,
episode.
and everybody was just like, "This show sucks," and I was like, "Wow, okay, what a unique and interesting take on a series that everyone supposedly hates except for me."
So unique, and we're gonna go into that in just a couple hours,
so
an hour.
I don't want it to be like that. I don't want it to come across that way. It's just sometimes I have to like talk through these things because I'm frustrated when I'm watching it, and then I have to like talk through it to get like.
Yeah, maybe I shouldn't taunt you as much.
Yeah,
Maybe that'll
let me
make you a
work
little bit
through
more
it, Gabe.
receptive.
He's like, "What are you, an idiot?
No,
What are
I
you-
didn't
what are
say
you, so
that.
dumb?
Hey.
Where's your media literacy, Bridget? Even though you make fun of everybody else for not having media literacy."
Well, that was funny, actually. I think.
Yeah, that's fair.
Well, not at all accurate though, but funny to say, actually. Anyway, I know we were bouncing around a lot, and you guys can help me out in the chat with where we can go from here, but I wanted to interject at least one thing so we can reset a little bit. I didn't mention this from the top, but there is a QR code on the screen if you happen to be watching from your television where you can tip us during the stream, and your message, when you leave a message during your tip, which will be read out loud, will be read out loud by computer programmed voice with your message saying all the things that you wanted to say out loud, bursting onto the scene.
And an image comes up. It's actually really cool.
But you'll have earned it because, hey, you're awesome, and your awesomeness seems to be busting onto the screen like a Kool-Aid man. So get on that. And, of course, you can head over to ko-fi.com/squawkingdead/tip if you prefer. It'll take you right to the donation screen, and your message will be read out loud. And you can do this after the podcast, too, if you happen to be watching on replay. But if you did miss this live stream, you can watch on a replay. But stop the replay and head on over to MCU's Bleeding Edge, the MCU's Bleeding Edge, where Bridget and I will be going live to talk about this episode again under a different format, so we can be a little bit more wacky. And I'm going to watch. Bridget, I'm making a prediction right now.
Okay.
When we go onto that podcast, I know, because I know you a little bit better now,
Okay.
that you will automatically take the other side of the argument. You'll instantly
Yes.
run to defend Maggie. Am I
Yep.
wrong? Yeah!
You're not wrong. You're not wrong. It's oppositional defiance.
It's disorder! Yeah!
It's like as soon as they're like, "This episode sucked," I'm like, "You
Excuse me, you don't.
son
Only
of a-"
I can say that about Maggie.
I'm like, "You son of a." No one bites my little brother except for me. That's like
Exactly.
it taps into this like thing that I had as a kid.
Excuse me?
Where I was like, only I get to beat him up. You don't get to do that.
Wait, who said that on one of these shows? Oh, it was Walking Dead World Beyond, and I know we're tangenting, but it was what was the major's name? What was her name?
Major General Beale. Oh no, the
Nope.
other one.
The other one,
Kublai.
Kublik. Yes, Colonel
Thank
Kublik,
you.
and her daughter Anne. No, it was it Anne? It was Huck.
Huck.
But what was her actual name? Jennifer Malik.
Jennifer Malik. Yeah.
And she goes, "Only I can hurt you." Basically, I'm your mother, and I'm the only one who could break your heart and hurt you.
Yeah.
You know, so that you can learn, obviously.
Nobody
but-
talks trash about this show except for me.
Exactly. So you're Colonel Kublik,
Sometimes.
basically. And all of you are Jennifer Malik. Except for me. I get to, because it's love when I berate Bridget a little bit, but not really at all. So anyway,
It's fine.
there are several things we still haven't gotten to.
Dude, so many things we haven't gotten to.
I mean, the visuals of Negan starting to, I know this annoys you, Sharon D. But like, even like when Ginny's hair comes out of her scalp in his dream, I thought that was a good prepper for what's to come. Because it was startling. I was like, what? Ginny? She has cancer all of a sudden? There's a lot of moments in these episodes where like I was startled. I was shocked. There was buy-in for me, and which is why it kept happening and kept working. And so,
Okay, so how did the episode start? Because I remember the first scene. I was like, "Is this a dream sequence?" And then it wasn't.
Oh,
But
Maggie.
then, like, the very next sequence was a dream sequence, and I was like, "Oh,
Well,
so
again,
this is what they're gonna do to us this
French
episode."
kiss,
All
French
right.
kiss, dude. You nailed it, because the first scene is Maggie walking into the King Francis Theater and hearing the spooky aria opera music and stuff, and it's
Yes.
very unsettling. And you walk in, you discover it's a Victrola or whatever, with a wobbly, warped vinyl record on top. And then you go to the Negan scene. Negan is with Ginny in his cell. Double take seeing Hillary Burton Morgan after he pulls out Ginny's hair, and then you find out it's a dream. Again, this is playing with the two stories.
Unfortunately, the title cards ruined that for me.
But you know what? Even the title. Do you know what happened when I saw the title cards? I was like, wait, hold on a minute. Go back 10 seconds.
Oh yeah, I rewound. I was like, wait.
And then
Is she
Medina Senor
producing?
came on, and I'm like, wait, go back again. What is happening here?
I was like, is she producing or something? And then I was like, wait, go back. And it's like guest starring Hillary Burton Morgan. And I was like, oh.
By the way,
we're getting a Lucille.
that alone got me like jacked up a bit. And so when I was watching this episode, it just heightened. I don't know. It's just obviously a side effect of just a personal side of it. I'm not expecting any of you out there to feel the same way as me. But when I saw that going backwards, like, oh, I'm excited now. And then so like there's an automatic buy-in for everything that's to come. And then
Sure, I get
I'm
that.
my heart's palpitating as don't push Maggie off the edge, please. It's like the same feeling I got when Daryl and Alpha were fighting in season 10, was it? I think it was.
Probably.
And like she manages to get one on him, like she slashes like the top of his brow, and then the blood drips on his eyes, and he can't see. And like she gets him in the leg, and he's just like, well, like, wait a minute. You saying that Daryl might die? It's like the same thing with Maggie. I'm looking at every scene. I'm like, hold on. Nobody kills Maggie but me. Is that the feeling, Bridget? No. There you go.
I will. Okay, so I'm going to say something.
Oh, here we go. Saying more
It's been-
somethings.
It's been kind of a fear that I've had. And I mentioned it, I think, earlier in the season.
You did.
I am really starting to think that Negan is going to die.
Like that Collider article said, I think
am
it was.
just- not that he has to, just that like the way that this storyline is progressing, it makes me think that he is going to die in the act of something redemptive.
Has this been renewed for season 3?
I believe so. I believe there's definitely going to be a season 3.
I believe that maybe.
Well, I mean, I would say, well, then we know he's gonna live because they can't have the show without both. But you know what?
But couldn't you?
Spoiler alert for The Last of Us.
If they
Yeah.
can do it.
If you don't know, you know.
Right. If you know, yeah, exactly.
If you don't know now, you know.
Sort of. But if you don't know The Last of Us, there's nothing to know. Let me just say this. You say Negan, and everybody's been saying Negan.
Do you think it's Maggie?
But if they took out Maggie, wouldn't that finally get you to kind of be like, the F word? After everything.
I mean, I
That'd be the
like
worst.
Maggie.
I mean, no,
I like Maggie. I don't have a problem with her. at
whether you
all.
don't like or don't like is my point.
That would make me really sad, actually. That would be like
Be a tragedy.
horrifyingly
And then
sad.
Herschel's the one to remain?
Ugh,
As what, too, as a result of
he's
this episode?
Not great. He's not great because he let a woman, an elderly woman dressed like Uncle Fester, mind you, cut off his toe.
He encouraged her to.
And now she looks like Uncle Fester, but with a jacked up haircut. Because that's one thing the Walking Dead universe loves to do, is
Jack-up
give a
haircuts.
villain a bad haircut.
Are you calling what's his name, Anderson? What was his name again? With the bad haircut? Are you calling me a villain? Not
Sam
Jesse, her son.
Yes,
Sam
he was
Anderson.
He was the first villain in The Walking Dead. Frankly,
After the governor?
no, he's the
Is it-
first one. The governor
is
wasn't
it-
even a villain.
It's
It-
Jesse's
it
the
was
real
him.
hair-
villain, though, isn't it?
Isn't hair burning like a trend now or something? Like, isn't she just
Embracing
she's
a
on
trend.
trend? Like,
I don't
with-
know. I'm just
singeing
thinking
the
of
hair.
Jadis and her horrible haircut, and then I'm also
Okay.
thinking of, the stupid bird name person from season 8 of Fear the Walking
Shrike.
Dead, who also had a horrible haircut.
I don't think it's
And-
that bad. Jeez Louise.
Oh, sorry, bird name person just killed me.
Bird
While I laughed for 5
person.
minutes.
You knew what I meant.
Wow.
So you know,
Um,
now you just in this world, if you have a bad haircut, you're probably a bad guy.
Try not to laugh. It's not working.
I mean, only good guys have stylists. I don't.
I don't
Maybe only
know.
stylists only go
Well,
live in the good places.
That's psychology, though, is that when you're the people that look nice are the ones you're supposed to like most of the time, and then other times it's like they look too nice, then you don't trust it. Like New Babylon Federation, they're like clearly there's hygiene in New Babylon Federation.
Why is his beard so lined up? I don't
Yeah,
like
wh-
it.
why is
It's
it sculpted
ugly.
the way it is?
How is it like that? Guys, Charles,
Well,
you should have grown it out,
No,
okay,
no.
I was-
bud?
Guys,
I was
you're in
looking
good
at
shape.
one
I love it.
scene with Maggie, and I'm like, her hair is like perfectly styled, even though she hasn't slept in days, and she's been.
Well, it's
running
because she didn't
through
lay down.
It looks
sewers.
gross. I mean,
And, like she's
in its own
got
way.
like the perfect little waves going, and it's
Really?
not tangled.
I thought it was like more
Oh,
matted.
it reminded me of like when I go camping and I swim in lakes and I don't actually shower,
Yeah.
like in a gross way, and then all of a sudden my hair looks the best it's ever looked. It's
You learn to not
it's like
screw
grease,
with
and
it?
suddenly like my curls are like coming through like really well, and I'm like, wow, I look great, and I smell horrible.
And to Tess's point, someone has to rock the crazy hair.
Always.
No, I want to. Let's take this in a completely different direction, though, because I do want to talk more about the Croat. We haven't really done too much of that, and you really wanted to talk about his past because you get it littered throughout this
Yeah.
episode, and it's all an effort to. And I love how this dovetails really well to the idea of we remember things differently. Because when he first talks about his mother, when he's fixing the cog, the flywheel, or the cog for the flywheel in Maggie's flashlight, he praises her, even though you discover later that she left him at a very early age.
Yes.
And then
I
searched
know.
for her almost his entire life. Well, I mean, for half his life. In
Well,
83.
her entire life, the rest of her
Wow,
life.
the rest of her life. That's right. 2 days. Found her 2 days after she passed.
So tragic.
Oh my
So
God.
tragic.
What payoff,
Plus-
though, first of all.
Well, plus, so you just got that story in the last episode from him about how his mother was like you should come with me, and I haven't seen
From
my mother in so
Negan.
long, and yes, and so like you're left thinking like, oh, his mother must have been alive when he left Croatia, and so you're left thinking like, oh yeah, it must just be killing him to not know what happened to her and to be stuck in that limbo of not knowing. And that is a complete and utter lie.
I did not
So
think of that. Wow.
to this point, if he drugged Maggie, I'm willing to believe it. If he knows that the Dama is alive, I'm willing to believe it because the man is a damn fine actor.
I'm
As
not,
the Croat.
I'm not willing to go the latter far. I'm open to it. Obviously, I said it before.
I
but-
would like it. It would be cool. But
let-
it might not happen.
But let's start with the first part because that's more interesting to me. The first part of him saying to Negan that you could come with, the kids could come with, to kill me. Is that what he's? Is that what he's saying? To throw me off the building? Well, you know what's even more interesting about what she says to Maggie afterwards is that he found it that way with the traps and all. He didn't set the
Yeah.
traps.
That is weird.
So first of all, who did? Who cares? That's fine. But I find it very interesting that it's to say that he went through the gauntlet to put himself in danger,
I understand.
probably to, go ahead. What?
Dave, this is what kills me about this. The traps, okay?
Uh-huh.
This like throwaway line. I don't know who did it. Maybe we'll find out in the next episode. But do you know what would be better? If you had done webisodes, or if you had done a Tales of the Walking Dead episode about this building. Do you know how cool that would be for that to come back now and be this throwaway line? But you would know the whole time that all this crazy stuff happened. It was the same thing that happened with the webisodes. I cannot remember the name right now. No, I do. Torn Apart. Nope.
Because you did it.
Wrong one. Wrong one, not the one.
Okay.
It's the one where the guy is in the hospital and he ends up locking up the doors and writing the "Don't Dead Open Inside."
Right. It's the one where it shows Rick's origin story, basically. Well, not Rick's. I'm sorry. Well, like how he survived throughout the 28 days? Oh, no, sorry.
Kinda.
No,
Kinda,
no,
not really.
I think it's 82, actually. It's 82
not
days.
Not 28 days later.
I think somebody
Or like
actually
Dead
put the
in
number
water
to it.
for Fear. When they
Um,
did the submarine story for Fear on
Dead in the Water,
like,
right.
yes,
there's
correct.
Similar
the
to
whole
that.
story about the
Miniseries.
submarine.
Yes, but it's, I don't mean like tying it after the fact. I mean like if you had prepped this,
To go
and
alongside it.
it would have been so cool if this had been released in between season 1 and season 2.
I can see that being a money issue, though. I mean, when back in the day, man, they had so much money to spend on this stuff. And they went
The
Nearly
webisodes came out
bankrupt.
after season 1. They had like no money at that time.
They went hard. Well, and they got Frank Darabont, which is really expensive. And I
Yes.
keep
Well, that's how
seeing the
they're
way it
blowing
was
their
filmed
budget, but-
earlier, and holy crap. They
Right.
spent so much money on different shots and cameras.
Nothing holds a candle. Nothing holds a candle to the early seasons.
It feels cheesy on retrospect, though, compared to what we're seeing now.
I've been watching some people react to for the first time, and I'm in season 2, watching them watch it for the first time in season 2, and it really just was such a great show those first few seasons.
Oh, yeah, I don't disagree, by the way. I'm just saying that now that we've been all the way through the gauntlet and then going back watching the first seasons, I just noticed how, like, oh, man, this is like a completely differently filmed show.
Oh,
to,
yeah.
to later seasons where it's
Yeah.
much more grounded and less filmic. Like, oh, we're in a movie every single episode for some reason.
I loved that though.
Yeah, no, I do too. It just feels there's a different vibe to it.
It's a disconnect.
Yeah,
To some
it's like,
degree.
wow, did we watch this? How did we? Anyway, whatever. Keep going on, moving on with the Croat though. Let's go back to that feeling. So when he says this to Negan in the last episode, is it to say that, because he's not going to see his mother, maybe seeing his grave, that it could be as harmless as to visit her grave?
Well, he's got the ashes, Dave.
Right. Or, okay, that too. Right.
No, I'm not saying it's not her full ashes, because that was like the smallest box.
She's
But
a very small woman. Not really, if you saw the photo.
so
I
many
don't know.
bones. So many
She lost
bones.
a lot of
Dave.
weight, maybe. I don't know.
No, you need so much more space. I have cremains at my house. Let me tell you,
Cremains, like it.
It's way bigger. But it's just it was really beautiful to have him have these memories of his mother and tell this different story, and then to see that the truth is actually much sadder than that, because isn't that everyone's story?
History. Yep. Mm-hmm.
You know, you think of Negan talks about how like, oh yeah, I led these people and someone came in and took it all over and ruined it for me, and you know, people had a safe place to go, but like they didn't, and the women were mistreated and brought into his harem, and before that he wasn't a great husband to his wife, and he willingly admits these things. But it's just interesting to see this, like it is the rose tinted glasses, the rose colored glasses in all of these situations. Maggie's thinking back on her son and thinking like, oh, I remember when he was cute and young and sweet and everything was perfect, except it never was perfect. It was horrific, and you told people about the horrible things you and your son saw on the road, and it's never been calm.
Right. And the best you can say is that I kept him safe, which is completely true. Right. But then at what cost?
But it was cool to see this aspect of the Croat also. Now, to be fair, Dave, you say like he wants to die now. I think that has more to do with the fact that he has been exiled for a second time from the man that he considers his brother.
Right. Which echoes the story with his mom.
This is the only remaining family he has.
My protector.
And he says, get out and do not come back
And
again.
Get
for a second time, which you and I think, we talked about this. Maybe it was to protect him
Sure.
to some degree. Maybe he feels for the Croat. He wants to protect him. So he's willing to do this. But the Croat doesn't see it that way right now because how would he?
Oh, and the irony, right? Instead of his mom leaving, he's telling him to leave. That's
Yeah.
so hard. It's so
Yeah.
hard to take in. Now, okay, so we all agree though that when this whole journey with Maggie is to get her to the point where what was all this for, and then get super mad like she was about to, and toss him off the window like he wanted to originally, but he was too coward, like Maggie says, too cowardly to do so. He doesn't say a word because he wants her to do it. He wants her to do it. What are we to take from that entire scene, though? I mean, let's start from the beginning. Like, I mean, you're talking about probably the two most tragic people on this show, the Croat and Maggie. I mean, basically rehashing what we just said. I mean, inarguably, Maggie is the most tragic. But to see the tragedy in the Croat, do you think that snaps her out of it just a little bit? To hear his story? And how nothing was really ever good, but he chose to see it that way? Oh, a son. And what is the Croat, if not a mirror for Herschel? How he chose to see his mom in the final analysis. The Croat.
Yeah. I don't know. My media literacy is failing me.
It's also getting late.
It is getting late, and we have to do this again.
Not on the same degree or level, so that's a relief.
I almost felt like that whole exchange, the whole thing, was meant to. I don't know. Is it because Maggie sees him like this, so pathetic, so like a lifeless worm, like just, and is she like, oh, this could be me,
Or it could be my son, like if I left him, which is what she was doing throughout this entire episode.
maybe.
She wanted to check out, and then
maybe
that's the end result if I did that. This guy.
I mean, not at all, but sure.
But in her crazed,
It's not at all the same. It's not at all the
right.
same.
But in her
I
own
get what you're
tired
saying.
state, she could see that in her.
I
Maybe when she
mean,
sleeps
like-
a little bit, she'll see that it's not the case.
I
but
mean, like she's the one ready to check out, and this is what it looks like.
if she does, that's what I'm saying. Yeah.
No, this is what it looks like to be the person who wants to check out.
Oh, also,
This is what you
sure.
look like
Sure. Yeah. No,
right
that makes
now.
sense.
Is this guy who's
can hold
acting
two
like
truths.
a total loser? Yeah, and also suspension of disbelief, because holy moly, how did you hold a full-grown man out the window without falling?
I was
No
thinking the
freaking
same
way.
thing.
And your hand was so gingerly on the door frame or the window frame.
Well, he
No
is
freaking
missing.
way.
He is missing an ear. That's a big chunk of weight.
Also, he looks like soaking
That-
wet, 120 pounds maybe.
Oh yeah, they're both like super itty bitty.
She's probably way
Super-
stronger than
super
he
itty
is.
Might be.
That's what got me to
honestly.
believe it. Like, okay, I'll look back to the episode. Okay, Dave, suspend your disbelief a little bit more.
So you were comparing the Croat and Herschel, and there's also that his mother left and Herschel's father left, not voluntarily,
Right.
but
right.
he did leave.
That's true.
Choosing to see somebody you didn't even know a certain way, and maybe he's very confused about that, and maybe he's always been very confused about that. Well, Maggie, is it what you chose to believe about my father? And that's what you're relaying to me? Or what was he really like? And I could see him having that skepticism. If I may skip ahead, and then maybe I'll go back. There's something I wanted to read that I wrote down because it gets to the heart of some parallels. Parallel between Herschel and the Croat. Millet brought Maggie to this twisted Skybridge Tower so that she could do what he couldn't. Kill himself and reunite with his mother. Technically, or basically with everybody. His wife and kids were brutally, savagely eaten. Now, wait, there's more. He talks about dependency, about his mother being a protector, what he chose to see. The parallel between Herschel and the Croat is not only the strong bond between he and his mother, which is obvious between Herschel and Maggie. Herschel can't deny that there was a strong bond between them. He can't get away from her he can't get away from her fast enough, but he can't walk away if she's in danger. We saw that in the last episode. But that Herschel too needs the Dama to do what he can't possibly do. Now I write kill his mother so he can be free of her, right? Because if that's his goal, he gave his toe willingly. And the only way that he can feel free to join the Dama is to make sure that Maggie's out of the picture. And then what is that if not the end scene, the end frame of her getting knocked out?
Wait, wasn't he kidnapped in order to get Maggie to bring Negan
True.
in?
Right.
So if they explained that to him, didn't he sacrifice his toe to get Negan there to die?
Well, at first, this is what we were told when we first watched season 1. But maybe, yeah, that could be what Herschel was told. And as
Maybe
a bonus,
the way it was said, it made it seem like was though it was like a sacrifice to her.
Right, and then of course Herschel's sent back in exchange so that he wouldn't have to see Negan be actually not killed. So maybe that was the entire reason to get Herschel even more on board, is that the Dama could do what Maggie, his own mother, could not.
Right, that makes Maggie not killing Negan even worse because he sacrificed part of his body in order to have to kill Negan, basically.
Yep.
And when it was time for that to happen, his mom couldn't do it.
Which explains Herschel's anger, probably not only at Maggie, but maybe even at the Dama. Like, how is he still alive if I eagerly gave my toe as part of this whole package that A, you would get rid of Negan, and B, you would show me this new future? But do you think that hate twists towards Maggie instead, and she puts it on Maggie that Herschel puts it on Maggie anyway?
Well, he already has that feeling with Maggie because his whole life has been her putting his dad up on this pedestal and blaming everything on Negan. Like you guys talked about last week, everything. If Maggie doesn't have Negan to blame, then who is she going to blame for stuff anymore? So
Herschel's sick of it.
His whole life, she has blamed Negan, and it's taken his mother away from him. And now when his mother had the chance to act on this thing that she has talked about his entire life, when the time comes, she can't do it. So not only that, also was like, well, what else has she told me that isn't true? Like, was my dad really this awesome person? Because she told me that her biggest, maybe not told me, but I have learned through my entire life that her main goal in life is to kill Negan for killing my dad. Well, what if everything else she's told me isn't true? What if everything else I know is a lie?
That's fair, actually. I have 2 responses to that. I hope you guys weigh in on this. Is that also to say that Herschel is the audience, in a sense, that may not like Maggie? That when they see Maggie, just like Herschel does, he's like, just end her suffering. She's stuck in the past. She's caught in the struggle between, do I kill Negan, do I not kill Negan? Is everything that fails because of Negan? And she's better off. Just get rid of this. She's suffered long enough. She's the Walking Dead. Is that to say that? Herschel is the audience?
Maybe.
I'm interested, but I'm not. I'm not.
It's interesting, but I'm not interested.
I can feel that coming from you. Well, read the chat for a hot sec because I have another thing to say.
I don't know where it ended. Okay. Tess, she did calm down, but now the storms are thundering again, and so she just literally crawled under the bed, which is fine. It's her favorite spot, so she can just hide under there and hopefully feel cozy.
Oh, something happened to our recording.
Okay. I'm not 100% sure what some of these reference. I'm so sorry, Tess.
Sharondy, I don't know if you're still there, but it said F them kids stopped recording. So I'm just going to go ahead and...
She's frozen.
Yeah, I'm going to just remove her from the chat just to see.
Okay.
Hopefully that'll...
Tess said he knew how to disarm those traps perfectly. I think you can write that off with the fact that we learned in this episode that he's actually like an engineer.
Yep. Yep.
He's got this engineering brain,
Yeah, and
which is so cool.
Which makes it even more impressive. You see the flywheel, you see the traps. It's like, yeah.
It's very, very cool. Possibly he could be a soon-to-be Walker popping in. How much longer can he survive without anyone fighting to protect him now? And where is he going? And Maggie looked a bit surprised when he said that it was for her and Herschel, not them together. And adrenaline can be supernatural strength sometimes, which I could, it's like like she was like lifting a car off of her baby.
But when it wears off, it is super punishing.
Yeah.
I've been there before. It's like you got hit twice.
And Tess also said then seeing how at peace he was with the idea of dying, and then said, no, I'm not giving you the satisfaction of that to the Croat.
Yeah, I'm not disagreeing. I'm just saying that's interesting. Because I don't know how I feel about that.
Yeah, it's weird because I can't really nail down how Maggie feels about the Croat. It's like she hates the Dama. Like that much is made very obvious. But it's almost like she doesn't know the Croat enough to feel one way or the other about him. Like she feels disgusted by him.
Well, she knows he was the first person to steal Herschel. So there's that.
Yeah, that's true. Oh, that's true.
Like that dream sequence where the camera goes upside down.
Like it seems like she dislikes him, but like she doesn't hate him in the way that we've seen her hate other characters.
Especially after everything he said in this episode to give her more clarity.
Oh, that's the other thing. He's so pathetic. I think that has something to do with it.
There's another thing so if you move backwards from this episode, you do understand a little bit better.
Does she know that he was ironed by Negan? Because that could automatically factor in to her feelings of pity for him. Like, oh, you have been victimized by Negan also in a physical way.
I think you would put two and two together if you met a guy who said he used to know Negan and he had a giant burn on his face.
Right.
I think you just assume, right?
So I mean that could also lean towards her feelings towards him. Like she could see him more as a kindred.
Oh, like a victim.
Spirit, someone who has been victimized by Negan as well.
And then victimized by the Dama because she's running the whole show in Manhattan.
Which gets him to see him in a different light.
Maybe,
suppose.
yeah. She seems more lenient on him this season than she did the first season. The first season seemed like she just really hated the whole situation with Negan. Was only doing the dealing to get Herschel back. That was really all it was. She didn't want anything to do with these people.
What a twist.
And she doesn't, it's not like she wants anything to do with them now. She wants to leave. But it's almost like she didn't have to save his life. She could have let him die.
Yeah. Well, so this is what I was going to say. Move backwards from the episode when Mile reaches out his hand, the Croat, and she takes it. That when you move backwards to, I don't know about why she saved him, but I'm going to throw something out there, and it's that more of a question. Is Maggie a good person? Or does she remember what being a good person is like, maybe? Considering what we spoke about it just now. What was she willing to do to get Herschel back? But trade somebody's life for her son, right? That was the big twist at the end of the season.
Yeah.
Last
season. And that's not a great, like abstractly, that's not a good thing to do.
And what is that if not just one?
Overwhelmingly, I think that I do believe Maggie is a good person. I feel the same way about her as I do with Michonne in like season 10 of The Walking Dead.
Oh, when she...
You're frustrated by her. You're frustrated by her...
Isolationism, basically?
Her isolation. Yeah, her
That's
isolation.
Season 9, actually.
It's 9 and 10.
It's more 9 than 10.
Right? Yeah.
More 9.
It's both. Yeah. It happens mid 9 and then goes into 10.
I'm not even going to clean that up. It's 9 all the way through until the end. Not 10.
Not 10 at all.
10, she... not midway, but over the halfway point, she could go... No, under the halfway point, she goes out to find Rick, essentially.
Yeah, that I know.
With
I was
Herschel.
just... I
that's
thought
season 10. Sorry, that's episode 10 of season 10.
I thought she took issue with Aaron meeting with... what's her name? About the baby.
Yeah, I guess those maybe those isolationist feelings did continue on, but but less
anyway,
so.
It doesn't.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter.
Well, especially what happens at the border with the Pikes in season 9.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
so
Well,
that ends
that's it's the same way I feel about Michonne during that time frame. I'm frustrated by her. I'm frustrated by her inability to take on new people. Like, we liked Yumiko, Magna, Connie, Luke's group, and she didn't want to take them on. And she takes them as far as taking them to
Hilltop.
Hilltop. And you think that she's softening on the journey, but then she doubles down on it like halfway through. And she's like, never mind, I'm going home. Bye. And you're like, what is happening?
And then you find the
and there's-
flashback, and then
Yeah, there's a lot of other stuff going on that plays into it, but it's like it becomes frustrating. You're like, just I get you've been through a lot, but like just loosen up, let people in. It would be good for everybody. The same thing happens with Maggie. She becomes very stern in the way that she believes things to be. She took on a lot of the saviors, but is unwilling to relent in a lot of other aspects when it comes to the saviors.
right.
And she
right.
wants them to do things on their own, but they're not able to do it. And she's like, whatever, they tried and they failed. It's not my problem.
Right.
And so she becomes very like stern and hard and cold during that time. And it's hard to consider her a good person during that time because you're like, that's not what a good person would do. But the end of the world changes your parameters for what a good person is.
So you're like a Maggie stan when it comes to that.
She was very much like Herschel Sr. at the beginning of season 2 when we first meet him, where he's like,
I hadn't considered.
You're gonna do it my way.
Yes.
Or you're
highway.
leaving. Or you're gonna do it my way. This is my land, this is my barn.
Mm-hmm.
We're gonna do what I say, to the point that we're catching walkers in the mud and putting them in the barn. So and what was in response to was loss, because he lost his wife and his son.
Yeah.
Like I said, I've just been rewatching it, so I caught all these details.
That's great.
I've just been rewatching
That's great.
it.
I love that. And yeah. And what happens if you take that to the extreme? And that's basically the Maggie that we're kind of seeing now, is that on the one hand, it's my way or the highway, but on the other hand, it's like, this is not a life.
Well, and what's interesting about that is that she lived that and she was on the other side of it. She fought with her dad. She begged. Remember, she was like, Daddy, just let him come in. Like she was fighting on the other side of it to say, you're wrong. You're in the wrong for this. And now she's on that other side. And we, the audience, are like, you're in the wrong. Just ease up.
And it's so difficult to nail her down.
I will say at that point, she didn't have a kid, so she didn't understand the feelings the way that Herschel did, because Herschel was protecting his kids and his family.
Yeah.
And now that she has a kid, she's like, well, I see what he was trying to do. And what he felt like he had to do to keep us all safe.
It's like all of us when we're kids. We think we know better until the shoe's on the other foot. And then we get an education the hard way. I feel like we have to zoom ahead. There's one thing that I want to hone in on from what I said earlier, is what Herschel is doing, trying to get the Dama to do what he can't, in a sense. He can't kill his mother. I'm specifically saying he wants to kill Maggie through the Dama. The Dama will do it for him.
It seems that way.
Okay. That's what I want to get a gauge on. Now, will it play out like that?
That's how I feel.
This is my natural path to saying, I don't think it's Negan. I think it might be Maggie, if at all, that goes at the end of the season or the beginning of the next, whatever they're going to do. What a twist.
I feel like I don't think he wants to kill Maggie. I think he wants to recruit her. I think he wants to get her to come under and be with him under the Dama's rule and see his side of things. I don't think he wants to kill her.
Okay. This would go to what the Croat says earlier. And given their conversation, it might go differently than what Herschel thinks, the way that Herschel thinks it's going to go. Because the Croat says she sees pain and she knows how to repeat it back. The brainwashing thing we talked about in earlier episodes. And it because of that whole, this is great. Because of this whole experience, we think it's for nothing.
Maybe Maggie needs a good talking to.
Well, here's the thing.
Maybe this will do her some good.
We think it's for nothing, this whole journey with Mile. But at the end of the day, it prepares her for what she's about to encounter with the Dama. And she's a little bit better equipped to actually deal with her now because of that. It's not just a peek into the Croat story, which I think we all kind of enjoyed. Also, the Croat being the Croat, not a bad thing. I love it.
I loved it.
The little
I love
one-liners.
I do worry that because of the character that the Dama is that she will require
A sacrifice.
Herschel to essentially sacrifice his mother
And show
to
his
show
commitment.
his level of commitment to her and to letting go of the past.
But I would say that's not the case only because I think there's a part of it that I feel like she would gladly do it for him to show that she's on his side. So I'll protect you from your own mother who claims to protect. Oh, well, we lost Sharondy.
Oh,
I can go either way is what I'm basically saying. I think either way is brilliant.
either way would be fine. I don't like either way.
Exactly. I'm
But, like,
interested.
When
Sorry.
she,
It's interesting, but I'm not interested.
but I'm not interested. When
It's like the Buffy the Vampire Slayer thing. We both say it wrong, and yet it's still funny.
when she showed up to clock Maggie, I was like, oh, come on. Like, I was just so aggravated. Like, I
Because
knew
you
it was
hated
coming.
her. I liked it.
I knew it was coming. I knew it was coming. I had a feeling.
I did not.
But here's my one thing, Dave.
Face.
Where'd you get a whole burnt body?
Look, she has a whole wardrobe full of stuff. She could just put on a burnt corpse of some kind. She clearly
Just had a burnt corpse. I just had this laying around.
They're all over
throw.
So many millions of walkers in the city. Just pick one, lead them. Remember how she drew them in to trick Herschel. I'm your savior. They came into King Francis Theater.
I'm so tired of Uncle Fester. I just want her to leave.
I get it. I am actually like the episode or Insider. I highly recommend you watching because Lisa Emery does say things about her character. Which is, first of all, Lisa Emery. It's great, but second of all, it's kind of interesting. I want more Željko Ivanek in these episode or Insiders, and he never does
100%.
them. Okay, I have to speedily go through the rest of this episode, and I think we're going to have to sacrifice the chat in order to do that. So,
Yes,
without
we
any
gotta go,
further
we gotta
ado, I there was one more thing I think. I don't remember. I don't think it is. Yep. I mean, again, it has to do with checking out. It would be better for everyone if I checked out Negan and Maggie. That's the final analysis I think I have. They think this way, and they express it in different manners, I think. Okay, let's leave it there. Negan's preparing to go for war, and he's going to kill every last one of them, like we mentioned in a previous episode, referring back to his final words. Not his final words, I'm sorry. It was season 11, preparing for an assault on the Reapers, pretending to be a whisperer, teaching Maggie how to do that. And we're getting a redux. She says he showed mercy in sparing everyone else at the expense of one. And now
if he could go back, he would do it the same way, except this time he'd kill everybody.
Yeah, and now that he's seen Bruegel up close, I think he's making the right decision. Question mark?
You know what? That's what this episode was missing. Bruegel.
Well, we're going to get a fistful of Bruegel in the next episode.
I need more
sure.
Bruegel. Honestly, I need more Bruegel.
Why don't you speed through the chat and I'll run through the thing. I feel bad for
trauma
Tess.
bonding in a way of how they survived. Is in reference,
100%
I think,
agree.
to Maggie and the Croat. There's a conflicted life moments that are hard places to accept, and then reliving them and going, oh crap. It's going to be interesting how this next episode is going to keep us on edge for season 3. And then she says bye.
Yeah, it is a nice chatting, Tess. I appreciate your input. You stumped me a couple times. I got to say, I'm very impressed. And then we had to talk about it, and then I still don't know where I land. But, folks, if you happen to like what you heard, first of all, head on, leave like this video if there's a place to like it. Comment on this video if there's a place to comment if you're watching. And if you happen to be listening, head on over to ratethispodcast.com/squawking dead. 5 stars and an eggplant is all we need to know that you love us. I haven't even said the emoji eggplant in a very long time, and it needs to come back. But tell us what you like, tell us what you didn't like, tell us what you think we might have missed. But remember to tell us after every single episode. It really, 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 really helps after every single episode. And if you really like what we're doing, tip us at ko-fi.com/squawking-dead. When you do, you'll get forever access to our Discord and 30 days access to our pre-squawk insights and unedited episode recordings for you to enjoy. If you happen to like us even more than that, I highly encourage you to, for as little as $4 a month, join a membership tier on either ko-fi.com/squawking-dead or patreon.com/squawking-dead. When you do, you'll get more access to our Discord. Join the higher tiers like the Survivors, Whispers, and Great M tier. You will get a free classic t-shirt upon signing up. When you join the Survivors or Great M tier, you will have the ability to join us in these episode breakdowns with your face, head, mic, mouth alongside us. Where we can tell you you're wrong, you can tell us I'm wrong. Basically, that's the way it's going to go. I'm wrong all the time, but I know that it's because you love us, or me, more specifically. And if you happen to join the Great M tier, the Greatest Ish tier, you are a junior producer, and you'll have access to our core channel where we discuss many behind-the-scenes things. I just left a note about our future plans after this season is completed, and there are many overhauls to be had, and one of them is going to be the membership tiers. Keep your eye out on those. I prefer Ko-fi, but you take your choice, take your pick, Ko-fi or Patreon. I highly recommend you at least follow so you can keep apprised of those changes so that you know what's going to happen next. But read the most recent post as to what's going to be happening soon enough. Take care, everybody. I've been your host, David Cameo, and I was joined by Cosmom Zero and I, Rachel Burt, earlier on. She left at 8. Sharon D, a.k.a. Blazy Gardner, who had a tremendously hard time staying alive. And, of course...
And me, Bridget. You can find me at ko-fi.com/punkybrewster. That's PUNKYBRUISETER.
And we have to leave, like, literally now.
Immediately.
So meet us there over on the MCU's Bleeding Edge so you can catch us again in just 10 minutes on their channel. Take care, everybody. Have a good night, and we'll see you in the next one. Tess specifically, mostly, and Heather, and then also other people, because I love you.